Chapter 690. Courting Death. Oh my god, this is completely courting death. How can I be courting death like this? Catch. Before Pai Pa could finish, she suddenly realized that a red figure had appeared in front of her. Along the way there were many new cities gradually forming. Such a bustling scene caused Wu Matian's blood to boil. Bing's gaze was shrewd. The man in front of him was obviously a veteran. Along the way he discovered even more. Other than the flourishing businesses, there were even more armies. That's right, armies. He saw at least 4 training armies along the way. The smell of smoke in the room was heavy. The sunlight shone in through the window, causing the smoke and dust to slowly spread out. A single mistake may cause everlasting sorrow. When I go back, I must definitely teach my subordinates a lesson through blood and tears, and tell them that it is most convincing. Oh, I must definitely not forget the 20,000 cloud coins that old Wang still owes me. Who else owes me money? I can leave, but I cannot leave a debt. Last year Xuanzi said that he wanted to treat me to a big meal. Oh, I cannot let him go back on his words. Where should I go? I have to think about it. I have never been to the roasted pig trotter's shop that Mingxing mentioned. Sigh, I am so hungry. Could it be that the problem of me getting stuck in the oil has happened? Or is it because of my income? Along the way he was on tenterhooks, but he did not have much fear. He did not do anything devoid of conscience for such a local army. The salary was pitiful and could not be given out normally, so they had to earn their own income. The upper echelons turned a blind eye to these little tricks of the lower echelons. Pig trotters? Bing's face was covered by the lingering smoke and could not be seen clearly, but his squinted eyes flickered with a cold aura like a blade edge. Since you like pig trotters so much, from today onwards, you will go and handle them. Although our kitchen department does not have such a menu, but I agree to add it. Your mission is only one, and that is to provide pig trotters to all the armies. After transferring Wu Ma Tian to the kitchen department, Bing continued with his daily work. The incident of the pirates attacking the city did not seem to affect him at all. Other than getting the various continents to be on high alert, he did not do anything else. Bing suddenly asked. He noticed the man in front of him. His eyes were wandering and his expression was starting to become sluggish. When Wu Matian regained his senses from the hole in his brain, Bing had already disappeared. Yes, the monster was modified by Screw. Pai Pa explained. There was a batch of students whose results were not very good, but they were very suitable for the monster, so Screw made one for all of them. They like to call themselves the Monster Army. In the war room there was a huge map hanging on the wall. It was filled with lines of various colors and marked with numbers. It was so densely packed that it would make one dizzy just looking at it. Sai Lei held her head high and her eyes were filled with flames. The current situation was not as difficult as before, and compared to the huge battle in Heaven's Road, it could even be considered easy. But at that time, although he was also very busy and nervous, it was enough as long as he carried out the orders perfectly, so he didn't feel much pressure. Even if the sky collapsed, there would be plenty of people holding it up. It wouldn't be his turn. Wu Matian had already decided if the higher-ups were to use this to punish him, he would first pay the 1 year and 7 months of salary that he owed. This discovery instantly caused all of his distracting thoughts to vanish. The Saint Blood Army's Blood Meridian's weapon greatly stimulated her. Although she could still easily list out all of the flaws of the Blood Meridian's weapon, but in terms of overall performance, the Frost Mountain was not inferior to the Saint Blood. Big brother, where do I go to the cookhouse? Wu Matian's mouth was wide open. He looked at Bing in a daze. Facing such an absurd order, he did not know what to do. So when young man Tang was around, Bing never felt much pressure. Wu Matian stood perfectly straight. He had already stood there for over half an hour. And Xian and the rest, I wonder how they are doing. I am such a small figure, how would the higher-ups know? He did not know that Bing was secretly observing him. Wu Matian, who had already given up, calmed down. When he entered the Shang continent, the prosperity of the Shang continent caused him to open his mouth wide. All sorts of merchant ships were coming and going, buildings were being developed everywhere, dazzling and beautiful signboards were everywhere, each one more luxurious than the other. Comparing Yuanshan City's commercial street to this, it was truly so shabby that it caused people to feel ashamed. The densely packed stream of people was like a densely packed cloud coin that flowed. On the table there was a transfer order. He was transferred to the cookhouse. She turned her head and looked towards the training grounds. What entered her vision was an extremely ugly mechanical spirit weapon. From her aesthetic point of view, it was truly an extremely ugly mechanical spirit weapon. The bloated and mottled body was like a wild beast that had contracted a strange disease. Imagining himself in his later years in a broken house, Wu Matian's heart was filled with sorrow, and he almost cried. But out of the 13 cities that were attacked by the pirates, only Yuanshan City chased after the pirates, and that was Wu Matian. He had never been to the Shang continent before, but he knew that it was a famous poor place. She swore in her heart that she would definitely create a brand new mechanical spirit weapon that could defeat Saint Blood in all aspects. Monster? Sai Lei's eyes lit up. This is too much. But Bing had never thought of being a leader before. It was so tiring, and life was meant to be enjoyed as long as everyone was there. It was good. I wonder when Crazy Tang will arrive. Wu Matian, who was in a daze, did not think at all and blurted out. When he reacted, his face turned pale white. What is that? She blurted out. Wu Matian trembled as he picked up the order and walked towards the door. The sunlight outside was unable to erase the anger in his heart. He clenched his fists tightly, his face filled with determination. He had decided to let the goddamn smoke addict understand what it meant to be killed but not humiliated. After passing through the training grounds, an abnormally oppressive collision sound came out from the training grounds, causing her to stop in her tracks. Sai Lei had safely returned to Three Spirit City, causing the entire Ursa Major constellation to heave a sigh of relief. To the current Ursa Major constellation, Sai Lei was definitely a strategic and crucial figure, and if anything were to happen to him, it would be a huge loss to Ursa Major constellation. What's the use of kneeling and begging at such a time? Hugging my thigh. Would it be better if I burst into tears? Should I just resign and not do it? Will I be dragged out by the guards at the door and fed to the dogs? He felt that his determination to die had already attracted the attention of the guards at the door, and he went forward. Ever since she was hailed as a grandmaster, it was the first time she had met with a challenge, causing her fighting intent to soar to an unprecedented level. As expected, I am not a qualified leader. At the start he was still fearful. He did not understand why the higher-ups wanted to meet him. Although he was the commander of the Yuanshan army, but the Yuanshan army was just a local army stationed in Yuanshan City. Yuanshan City was a small city, and the Yuanshan army was naturally not a big army, and at times they still had to play a role, maintaining law and order, escorting merchant groups, etc. Wu Matian was not tall and had a skinny body. A few strands of hair drooped down from his forehead, as though he had not washed them for a few days. Along with his slightly plump and round face, he had an indescribable wretchedness. His eyes were unfocused, as though he was in a daze. His standing posture was relaxed, his entire body was not tense at all, as though he was a skeleton that was about to fall apart. In front of his clothes, there was a large oil stain that had not been washed clean, which was not recent. When he saw Bing, he had a stomach full of suspicions. He raised his head and stared angrily at the roasted pig trotter's boss, and when he saw the face in front of him, it was as though a bucket of ice water was poured over him. He opened his mouth wide, his entire being was like a statue, not moving an inch, completely frozen in place. But to the proud and arrogant big sister, suppressing the opponent in all aspects was the only outcome that she could accept. But at the moment all of the pressure was on him. Every time that happened he would easily think of Tang Tian. Although the young Tang was crazy from day to night and did not have many normal moments, but his mental state was so thick that it seemed as though it did not exist. The young Tang would never feel the pressure, and if someone were to ask him about the pressure he would definitely raise his head and say, "Why think so much? Just directly destroy the enemy." The man in front of me who is smoking and puffing is the #1 general of the Southern Alliance? Is he even a spirit? Spirits can actually smoke? It looks like it tastes good. Should I ask him what brand it is later? The first thing I said to Shangguan was actually to ask for a cigarette. Bing was not stingy and directly threw one to Wu Matian. Pai Pa, who was by her side, followed her gaze and realized, "That's monster." He stretched his back and subconsciously touched the box of cigarettes, but his hand quickly stopped. He had used up his cigarettes recently and did not have much left, so he had to slow down. She did not even have the intention to rest. Stepping on her high-heel shoes, she rushed towards the laboratory. Her killing intent soared, causing everyone to give way. To provoke Big Sister at such a time, they would definitely be dead. Suddenly he raised his head, revealing a look of suspicion. The flow of energy in the air made him feel a trace of something unusual. The energy flow here seems to be under some sort of control. Wu Matian only felt his vision darken. It's over, I will definitely be demoted. The damned commander no longer has anything to do with me. I will lose my job. After spending all my savings, I will have to live on the streets. My old age will definitely be very sad. Bing was startled for a moment when Wu Matian asked him for a cigarette. He had met so many subordinates, but no one had ever asked him for a cigarette. My life is too dark. What problem do you have? In a daze, Bing curled up on the sofa and fell into a deep sleep. Problem? Oh, this cigarette is not bad, can I have one? Anyways, he felt that this lousy commander was boring. Then bring it on. Wu Matian, who was still immersed in roasting the trotters, subconsciously took it. Upon touching it, it was so thin and light, he immediately became angry. Boss, why are the pig trotters so small? Wily old soldiers were always troublesome in the army. They were the most knowledgeable in protecting themselves, and were the most commonly used methods as most of their hot-bloodedness had already been worn down. Experienced generals all disliked having wily old soldiers in their own troops, as the atmosphere of the army was easily corrupted. I wonder where Crazy Tang is now. Sai Lei stepped on his high-heel shoes and directly jumped into the training grounds and rushed towards Monster. Bing regained his senses from his state of concentration, and his gaze moved away from the map. He stood there for half a day, but Bing acted as though he did not exist. Wu Matian still knew the rules. Without his commanding officer's orders, he naturally did not dare to move. He continued to stand straight, but the thoughts in his mind started to flow. Chapter 691. Luckily, Xie Yuan always carried out his superior's orders to the letter. He did not ask why, since Master Bing said to let him figure it out himself, then he would figure it out himself. Maybe Master wanted to test him. Furthermore, to equip the entire unit with star treasures already made him extremely grateful, much less letting him figure out his own tactics. No matter how difficult it was, he would definitely not frown. Xie Yuan could only suppress the fighting intent in his heart, but he could not help but be worried. The situation in the Shang continent was like walking on a tightrope. If he was slightly careless, he would fall into the abyss. He did not know how Master Bing would deal with the situation. Her mechanical spirit weapons were becoming more and more complicated. The grade of her martial spirit was also becoming higher and higher, but the requirement for the mechanical martial artist was also becoming higher and higher. He suddenly laughed at himself. I really think of myself as a savior. But regardless of how many flaws there were, it was unable to cover up Monster's radiance. Because Monster's construction was extremely cheap, and compared to the expensive Frost Mountain, it was truly worth it. One Frost Mountain's construction cost was enough to build 20 monsters. But it was already in Xie Yuan's hands. Xie Yuan stood in the center of the formation, his expression solemn. 108 exquisite swallows danced in the air, surrounding the entire formation. These swallows were petite, their bodies were only as long as a finger. They released a white moonlight aura, like a group of mischievous spirits. The densely packed light regiments quickly dimmed down. Xie Yuan gently caressed the new moon-form swallow command whip in his hands. In this period of time, everyone had improved extremely quickly, and all of their star treasures had absorbed an astonishing amount of energy. But half of the energy that the entire army had absorbed was absorbed by the new moon-form swallow command whip in his hands. Xie Yuan was dumbstruck. Master Tang Chou was a person who personally handled everything, and would specially plan out the details of every tactic. But for Master Bing, who knew that even his style would change so completely. Master Bing definitely has a way. Monster had a different style. It was sturdy, simple, easy to use, far from being as dazzling and gorgeous as Frost Mountain, to the point that it was somewhat ugly. But Screw's deep understanding of mechanical techniques was displayed vividly on Monster. It didn't have any fancy joints, but it was astonishingly stable and unusually sturdy. In comparison, the Frost Mountain's joints were more like exquisite works of art. The swallows that filled the sky suddenly flew in from all directions and entered his hands. Pa pa pa, the concentrated sounds of explosions. A moon-white long whip in Xie Yuan's hands grew at a speed that could be seen by the naked eye. The long whip with 108 segments was like a moon-white bone snake, slowly swaying. When Master Bing suddenly threw a bunch of star treasures to them, other than being ecstatic, Xie Yuan also had a headache. Secret treasures were, of course, good things. Their prices were obvious. Each of the 5 southern islands' palaces had a secret treasure, and this had long made Xie Yuan extremely envious. But he was not a general who liked to make a fuss, so he remained silent. Sai Lei remained silent throughout the process of studying monster, up close. The monster army was quietly formed. This was directly related to the moon swallow's whip in his hands. This exquisite and small swallows had an extremely mysterious name, called moon swallows. Their figures would change like the moon, crescent moon, half moon, full moon. Every change would bestow them with different abilities. Every soldier sat down limply, their entire bodies perspiring profusely, their eyes staring blankly as they gasped for breath. No one spoke, they did not even have the strength to move a finger, and were seizing the time to rest. Master Bing only had one request for them: to seize the time to train. Xie Yuan, who was naturally introverted, felt as though a storm was raging in his heart. This caused Sai Lei to be shocked and enlightened. She suddenly realized that battles were different from what she understood. And their mission was to seize the time and quickly raise their strength. This extremely ugly mechanical spirit weapon was just like its name. Its ugly appearance contained an astonishing amount of power, causing Sai Lei to be shocked. For the sake of not attracting attention, they had specially chosen this place. The entire process lasted for a full 6 hours, causing Xie Yuan's forehead to be covered in perspiration. This was the spirit treasure that little fool had specially refined for him, the moon swallow's whip. The evening snow ocean in Shen's hands had long made all of Bing's subordinates jealous. Xie Yuan did not dare to have too many wishful thoughts. He was very clear that he and the Swift Army were just bought armies. In truth, the boss was already extremely kind to them, and regardless of whether it was them or the Skull Unit, they were all satisfied. Gradually understanding the Star Treasure's capabilities, Xie Yuan, who was outstanding in tactics, quickly fumbled out a unique army training method. The other most important use of the new Moon Swallow's command whip was to filter out the impurities in the energy, leaving behind a type of energy similar to moonlight. The entire army's star treasures absorbed energy of the same attribute, and that was the reason why their synchronization rate was able to reach such an astonishing number. If they did not have sufficient rest, they would definitely not be able to persevere through the next round of training, and would drag the entire army down. Around him, every single soldier had a silver weapon floating in front of them, the weapon releasing an intense silver light. Every single soldier was perspiring profusely. They did not dare to relax at all, and worked hard to control the star treasures in front of them. Its thick arms and 4 limbs bestowed it with extreme stability and astonishing strength. It stood there quietly, as ferocious as its name suggested. When the master truly gave the star treasures to the Swift Army to equip, the entire army was so happy that they were going crazy. But after that, Xie Yuan asked Bing for instructions on how to train the star treasures, and what kind of tactics were required. But what he did not expect was that Master Bing threw down a sentence of, "You figure it out yourself," and did not ask any further. The place where they trained was extremely far away from the Shang continent. It was extremely far away from the sea route, and there were no other continents nearby, thus there were few people. When they trained, they created a huge commotion, and the converged energy vortexes were extremely powerful. One after another, light regiments floated in the sea of energy like light cocoons. They were arranged neatly, flickering in and out as though they were breathing. As though they were breathing, the surrounding energy would be sucked into the formation like seawater, and the formation would produce vortex-like ripples. Just this advantage was enough to move Tang Chou. With the new moon form swallow command whip and the star treasures, as long as there was enough time, Xie Yuan had the confidence to raise the Swift Army from a silver-grade army to a gold-grade army. It was something that he did not even dare to think about in the past. It was the dream of any famed general, and it was not an opportunity that a general of his level could obtain. But his request to go out to battle was rejected by Master Bing without hesitation. Xie Yuan suddenly thought of a phrase. Xie Yuan was a strict and meticulous person and did things in an orderly manner. He first found the 5 southern island constellations, and carefully consulted them on how they trained, as they had come into contact with star treasures much earlier and had much more experience. After that, he went to visit Jing Hao, Crane and Ling Su, and sought their help to resolve the doubts in his heart. What was surprising was that after swallowing such a vast amount of energy, the new moon form swallow command whip did not have any changes, and that made him look forward to the evolution of the new moon form swallow command whip. Ursa Major constellation walked the path of elite soldiers and did not have many armies. The mechanical army was split up: Tang Yi's Lupus army, Flute's hunting net army and Ta Dun's plateau army. These were the four main armies of Ursa Major constellation, but with regards to the chaotic situation in the future, Tang Chou felt that their army numbers were far from enough. You treat me like a statesman and I will repay you with a statesman. It was not that monster did not have any weaknesses, but on the contrary its weakness was very obvious. Could not fly, and with its heavy body, it needed to consume even more energy. Its martial spirit's grade was not high, and thus it was not as intelligent as Frost Mountain. It also had requirements for mechanical weapons, just that it was more focused on the body, and not the ability to communicate with the martial spirit. Monster's one-on-one standard might not be inferior to Frost Mountain, but its overall performance was much weaker than Frost Mountain. The energy flow became slower and slower, and Xie Yuan knew that everyone was at their limit. He took a deep breath and bellowed, "Open." Chapter 692. He had never thought about that before. The female officer continued to speak. For the sake of the pigs she was willing to risk it all. That's right. Jiao Ye's expression became more relaxed, but deep in his eyes, there was still a trace of worry. The reason why I did not oppose the southern expedition was also because of that. A third of the southern region, if the three of you were to go, the possibility of success would be higher. But a war like the southern expedition has never happened before, and we cannot predict the reactions of the various continents in the southern region. If they were to stick together, then even if we take down the Shang continent we will suffer heavy losses. It was not the first time he had seen the soldiers training, and he had some experience in it. It was just that Yuanshan City was a poor place with nothing, and he was unable to carry out any training. When he first went he was still ambitious and wanted to create a strong army, but reality quickly defeated him. Not to mention training, it was difficult to even get his daily salary on time. Luckily for the Honorable Martial Continent, they had always faithfully carried out the strategies set by their predecessors, and although the steps were disrupted, but their long-term accumulation and preparation were still extremely solid. Regardless of resources or the development of armies, they were far from what they were in the past. With the three famous generals moving out and taking down a third of the southern region, the Honorable Martial Continent was extremely confident. Including him, everyone had to do some business to survive, and many of their businesses were not clean. But he still tried to find opportunities to do some basic training, because if they were to clash with others, they would not be in a bad state. The female officer stopped abruptly. He recognized her. Every time he delivered roasted pig trotters, she would be the first to rush over. Is she a reincarnated hungry ghost? Humph, looking at her, she definitely relied on her connections to get here. If not, why would she be so free when everyone is training? Furthermore, you are a woman. Can you pay attention to your image? I lack the competitive spirit. This kind of war is not suitable for me. Boss Mu will definitely not go either. He needs to guard the Wei Yiguan continent. That is the stronghold that leads to the Savage continent, and the Savage continent has been in turmoil recently. I heard that there is a female war goddess there that is invincible. Boss Mu is very worried. Once all the tribes in the Savage continent are united, it will be a huge threat to us, and Boss Mu will have a headache. Eat less. Wu Ma Tian stared at the female officer. There is a limit. If you eat other people's food and they come to find me, I can only find your army commander. The female officer, not interested. Wu Ma Tian snorted. The female officer coughed lightly. Do you want me to explain it to you? Our skull unit's tactics are rather exquisite. Yo. The female officer was truly surprised. She put down the pig trotter in her mouth and sized Wu Ma Tian up. I couldn't tell. You are of the same trade. Are there hidden dragons and crouching tigers even in roasted pig trotters these days? Suddenly, a voice came out from beside him. Wu Ma Tian regained his senses and looked at the other party with an unkind expression. A woman in an officer's uniform casually grabbed a roasted pig's trotter from the basin and spoke in a muffled voice as she chewed on it. The cookhouse's roasted pig's trotters were currently popular among the various large armies, and the worst part was that there was a fixed supply, and it was hard to get a single trotter. They had to place an order early in the morning, and if they were late they could forget about it. Didn't you say you were interested just now? The female officer was surprised. Jia sat quietly. The young man in front of him had a fair and handsome face. His eyes were as sharp as swords, but the sharp aura that once caused people to be unable to look straight at him was now much more restrained. Jia Ye's eyes subconsciously revealed a look of admiration. Maybe this war is prepared for generals like us. The female officer was dumbstruck. Why is it 15M? Why are their attacking surfaces wavy? Wu Matian's mind was filled with disdain and he curled his lips. Interested? Of course, no matter what, it is more interesting than roasted pig trotters. Is that all you've got? Wu Matian looked at the female officer with disdain. As long as you explain it well, I will bring you 3 tomorrow. But if your standard is too low, don't even think about it. Qiu Suhua listened quietly. He had only been a part of the Honorable Martial Five Tigers for a short period of time. Regardless of connections or information, he could not compare to the other 4. So we have to be fast. Qiu Suhua took over. A stern look flashed past his eyes. As long as we are fast enough and do not give them enough time to prepare. As long as we are fast enough, we can take down the Shang continent before they can form a group, and they will be scattered like sand. Qiu Suhua did not say anything. Out of the 5 tigers, his relationship with Jia Ye was the best. Every time he came to Jia Ye's residence, he felt an indescribable sense of relaxation. Jia Ye was dressed in a loose brown Buddhist robe. His white socks had been washed so many times that they had turned white. He looked simple and unadorned. He had a round face with small eyes and sparse eyebrows. With a faint smile on his face, he had a tranquil temperament, causing the hostility in Qiu Suhua's chest to subconsciously decrease. Those words struck Wu Matian's sore spot and he could not be bothered with him. Although Jia Ye was uneasy, but he did not think that the honorable martial continent would fail. Wu Matian's eyes did not move and he concentrated. He changed the topic. When are you getting married? I am of the same trade, let's talk about it. The female officer picked up another pig trotter. The remaining 3 MOXNU and Go Qing Wendao should all be going. It was Jia Ye's first time seeing such an expression on Qiu Suhua's face, and he could not help but laugh out loud. Wu Matian said lazily, I am interested in training others. War was the stage for the generals, it was the arena for the generals to fight to the death. The female officer. Let's end this battle. Qiu Suhua's white face revealed a rare tinge of red. He was slightly embarrassed. Jia Ye had never thought that they could not take down the Shang continent. The Shang continent was strong, but compared to the honorable martial continent they were too far off. Both parties were on completely different levels. Furthermore, 3 of the 5 tigers were fighting at the same time. It was the first time in the honorable martial continent's history. But he knew that once the honorable martial continent started their southern expedition, the honorable martial continent would definitely become the public enemy. If the various continents of the southern region were to form a group, they would definitely be faced with many difficulties. Is there a need to go to the commander to complain about a pig trotter? The female officer put down the pig trotter in her hands embarrassedly. She had not had enough. She felt that there was a need to rope him in. If they were to get closer, she might be able to get more pig trotters in the future. He silently picked up the teacup and took a sip. The tea was coarse and his mouth was filled with a bitter taste. The female officer continued to be dumbstruck. The female officer immediately became excited. She could not hold it in and threw out her motive. Then bring me a few more pig trotters tomorrow. Qiu Suhua's reputation was rising extremely quickly, and was faintly surpassing his own. Jia Ye was a gentle person. He did not like to fight and did not have much desire for power. Thus he was happy for Qiu Suhua's transformation. Idiot. You don't even know this and you dare to eat pig trotters? You can just eat your own trotters. This is to increase the area of attack, understand? I think I won't be going. Jia Ye put down his teacup and smiled. Wu Matian's face revealed an impatient look as he cut in. Can you give me something more practical? Sensing Qiu Suhua's fighting intent, the smile on Jia Ye's face disappeared. He spoke after a moment of silence. In truth, the great clan elder is very hesitant about the southern expedition. We have never prepared for it. It is because of the changes in Heaven's Road that forced us to make the decision. The southern expedition is set for 2 months later. With such a short preparation time, it is not enough to support such a large-scale battle, and that is what I am most worried about. The female officer replied weakly, because it can increase our offensive power. The female officer was roused, silkworm-style strangulation. Qiu Suhua spoke. We only need to take down the Shang continent with a thunderous momentum. I have seen the position of the Shang continent before. It is at the border of the southern region, but it is not far from us. If we only want to take it down, we only need to occupy a third of the southern region. As long as we control the scale of the war to a suitable area, we can greatly reduce the pressure on our logistics. Hearing that, Qiu Suhua's eyes suddenly lit up with a light aura, like a treasured sword being unsheathed. The light aura was like snow. The result was not too far from what he had guessed, but hearing it from Jiaya's mouth, his emotions were still stirred. Why are they maintaining a distance of 15 m? Wu Matian asked. Jiaya laughed. Qiu Suhua's style of fighting was decisive and sharp. Like a sharp sword, no matter how chaotic the situation was, he would be able to quickly break it down and find a path to victory. Wu Matian pointed to the two parties fighting intensely. What are they doing? Cough. They are currently undergoing small strangulation training. Do you know what small strangulation is? It is a partial strangulation of less than 5 people. Why 5 people? Master Tang Chou believes that a battle of less than 5 people has a lower requirement for tactics and organization, but correspondingly, the requirement for individual strength is much higher. The synchronization rate of energy is not very useful in such a small-scale battle. The more people there are, the higher the requirement for synchronization rate. Take note of their movements. It is called the wedge-shape penetration. It can cut off the opponent's coordination, and the flanks can provide very good protection and quickly destroy the opponents. Wu Matian pushed the dining cart, which was filled with plates of roasted pig trotters, and passed through the training grounds. In the past few days, Wu Matian's roasted pig trotters had already become the most popular dish in the barracks, and the orders from the various armies were piling up like mountains. Wu Matian had also become the most popular person to deliver food to all the armies. Even the sentries who saw him would reveal a smile. Bullshit. Wu Matian scolded. What does this have to do with attacking strength? Flexibility. Do you understand flexibility? Long-range attacks have a longer attack distance and their distance can be more flexible. Do you have a pig's brain? Do you want to go up and train? The female officer's mouth was covered in oil and she scoffed. If you want to send double the amount of pig trotters every day, I will let you train in the training grounds and properly experience the charm of our skull unit. It was too easy for a black to eat another black. The female officer. Do you know why? Because 15 m allows them to maintain the flexibility of their formation. The swords and blades at the front conceal the area, and the arrows at the back have space to shoot. Wu Matian looked at the female officer with a look of disdain. Why do they have one close and two long range? The southern expedition was destined to be a huge battle. The only way to measure a general's strength was through military achievements. Only when there was a battle would there be military achievements, and any general was a warlike person in their heart. To gain military achievements they needed a large-scale battle. The female officer was overflowing with confidence. What kind of joke is that? My tactics cannot compare to a roasted pig trotter? Wu Matian's gaze was attracted to the soldiers on the training grounds. Jiaya was still filled with worry. Such a large-scale battle was not because of a long-term plan, but because of the situation. From this point it could be said that they had already lost the initiative. How is it? Are you interested in this? Sure, tell me about it. Wu Matian truly had many things that he did not understand. Chapter 693. Quickly shut up, don't speak later. Bad luck. Tang Tian was the first to sense it and could not help but exclaim out. The second to react was Magatama. Her beautiful eyes revealed a rarely seen anxiousness. This tremor that caused one's heart to palpitate came incomparably fast. At first it was only an extremely thin deep blue line that appeared in the distance, but in the blink of an eye, this blue line had become as thick as an arm. Its momentum surged and the nearby blue sea seemed to boil. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Niechio's reaction was faster than Zhong Li Bai. He could not see and was extremely sensitive to energy undulations. His face changed. Although he was surprised, he did not panic and shouted, "Defend!" Unfortunately, before he could even curse, an overwhelming power struck him from behind, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. His vision turned black and he lost consciousness. Before he lost consciousness, he only had one thought in his mind. I need to save everyone. A round-faced man entered Tang Tian's vision, and only then did Tang Tian see the other party's appearance. The other party's clothes were tattered, he had a wretched expression, his eyes flickered with an ominous glint, It was obvious that he was not a good person. If we sell him, he will definitely be worth a lot of money. Who asked him to owe Miss DeLynn so many favors? Debts if favors come quickly. Seems like. Not the red grass beach. Another person clicked his tongue in wonder, walked to Tang Tian and sized him up and said, "Such a good body. What do you say, how about we sell him to the Shui family?" If not for Magatama protecting his body, the blue energy would have corroded him to the point that nothing would be left. The never-before-seen blue energy was extremely strange. It had an indescribable gloominess to it, and its corrosive ability was extremely strong. The people behind all revealed looks of helplessness. Everyone was already used to Crazy Tang being childish, but Sima Xiao was the Scorpio King, a treacherous and cunning person with unfathomable shrewdness. Did the Scorpio King not feel ashamed? Tang Tian stared blankly for a while before reacting. How did I become a captive? But he suddenly quivered. He thought about Han Bingning and the rest. Not good. Tang Tian wanted to speak, but no sound came out of his throat. I have Chia. Tang Tian was unconvinced. I also have a transcendent soul skill. Why not Red Grass Beach? After an unknown period of time, Tang Tian opened his eyes in a daze. He felt a splitting headache. It took a long time for his pupils to regain focus. What entered his field of vision was the dark and damp ceiling. A large area of the ceiling was covered in green mold, and the air was filled with an unpleasant and damp smell. Bullshit. Tang Tian was furious. Chia is worse than Xiaoyu? Wanna fight? Sima Xiao wanted to curse out loud. Tang Tian was stunned, but he quickly realized that they were talking about Han Bingning. Her name was also Goyu. Shui family. His companion was stunned. What do you mean? She was by far the most perfect piece of work. The moment Sima Xiao saw her, without hesitation he fused the Scorpio constellation's treasure, Scorpio Magatama, into her body. The Null Division soldiers beside him seemed to have awoken from a dream. Their expressions changed, and they immediately formed a defensive formation. Everyone had heard the two of them talking and had had enough of it. Hot blood surged to his head. Tang Tian struggled up from the ground. Tang Tian stared at the ceiling blankly for half a minute before reacting. The last time, everyone was sent to Red Grass Beach by the storm. Sima Zhao's entire body trembled, his face turning blue. The blue sea was a sea of energy formed from countless of energy. Tang Tian and the Null Division with the zero energy body were not affected, but Sima Xiao, who did not have the zero energy body, was in trouble. The energy of the blue sea continued to permeate into his body. What's wrong? Sima Xiao, who did not seem to care, was secretly tensed up. Upon hearing Tang Tian's sudden exclamation, a bad premonition surfaced in his heart. Upon entering the blue sea, he and Miechio had met with the same problem as Sima Xiao. Sima Xiao had Magatama's protection, but they did not. The two of them only persisted for half a day and were on the verge of collapsing. But the two of them were extremely intelligent people and were outstanding military generals and knew how to use the power of an army. The two of them actually came up with a method to use an army to disperse the blue energy corrosion, but it was a method that could only be used by military generals with outstanding control auras. Don't tell me it's fake. Her exquisite appearance was beautiful to the point that she did not have any worldly aura. Her eyes that were like jade, sparkling with light, and her red lips that were as moist as water. Her black hair that flowed like a waterfall hung down to her shoulders. The loose and elegant feather robe made her beautiful body faintly discernible. Her snow-white slender legs were like the most perfect work of art. With a red string tied around her ankles, she stood barefooted. The light needle was extremely strange and he could not muster any strength. Not only was he unable to muster any strength, he could not even summon the devil flame. In his daze, Tang Tian faintly heard someone speaking. There seems to be a problem with Sexton's eye. The direction is not right. This idiot. Don't you feel that this brat fits the Shui family's requirements? Magatama floated by Sima Zhao's side, the gentle jade light aura enveloping Sima Xiao. The jade light entered Sima Zhao's body, and the indistinct blue color on his face gradually faded, and he regained his blood color. Even with Magatama's protection, Magatama still had to help Sima Xiao dissolve the blue sea energy in his body from time to time. Look, even the prisoner needle is unable to completely restrain him. What a good physique he has. His body is practically made of steel. He can definitely be sold for a good price. If any noble lady takes a liking to him, we can buy him back, hee hee. Tang Tian had a look of disdain. You are so reliant on Xiaoyu, you have no ambition. As a man you have to be able to support the heavens and the earth. I have become a prisoner. Zhong Libai frowned. In the 9 days of time, their journey was not short, but up till now they had not encountered anything. There were no blue dwarves, nor were there any forest of Empyrean ice tree spears. The vast blue sea was monotonous and dull. Hey, why are you so excited? Could it be an old flame? That makes sense. The Shui family has always been generous. If we can satisfy them, we will be rich. It will definitely be more profitable than selling it. Last time. Tang Tian thought for a moment. The last time we met with a storm, we were sent to the red grass beach. Are you all right? Tang Tian looked at Sima Xiao and could not help but ask. An unprecedented weakness enveloped Tang Tian, causing Tang Tian to feel that everything in front of him was swaying, and his consciousness was becoming blurry. There were a few times when Sima Xiao had the urge to transform himself into a zero-energy body. Every time that happened, his gaze would involuntarily turn to look at Magatama beside him. Just at that moment, Tang Tian's voice suddenly came out from the front. The boundless blue sea caused people to feel despair. When the tremors swept out, everyone could truly feel the terrifying might contained within. He seems to have a fever. Damn it, this fever came at a bad time. I heard that this time, there was an ice beauty. More than 10 people were fighting over her. Wang Mazi pushed her away. He definitely wanted to keep her for himself. I never thought that Miss Delin would appear. Wang Mazi's expression. A pity you didn't see it, ha. Tang Tian was thrown into a carriage. The struggle had exhausted all of his remaining strength. His face revealed an abnormal red color. He was in a daze and his consciousness was blurry. The round-faced man had been guarding by his side the entire time, and was extremely careful. Do you think the storm is your family's carriage? Zhong Libai also reacted and immediately ordered. He was agitated and struggled to stand up. Plop, just as he stood up he fell to the ground. Tang Tian looked at the blue sea in front of him, his expression congealing. Just at that moment, an undetectable tremor came out from afar. What do we do? We are already at the door. We have to give it a try. If not, we will talk about it. Magatama's reaction was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, she lowered her body and pounced onto Sima Zhao's back. She was like a soft water snake coiling around Sima Zhao's body. Her flawless and beautiful face was buried in Sima Zhao's chest. The jade light around her suddenly erupted, enveloping the two of them. I'm fine. Sima Zhao heaved a sigh of relief. His body had once again become warm and comfortable, and he could not help but sigh. Luckily we have our Xiaoyu. Everyone, please don't let anything happen to you. Goyu pursed her lips into a faint smile, her beauty unparalleled. He struggled to climb up, but suddenly realized that he was tied up tightly. His hands, legs and neck were all pierced with light needles. His entire body was limp and he could not muster up any strength. Tang Tian felt that the sound was getting further and further away, his consciousness becoming more and more blurry, as though something was burning in his body. Sima Zhao's face was filled with happiness. You are envious. How living off a woman is not something you can do just because you want to. This is an ability, a super grade spirit technique. Do you understand? 21 days. Niechio said because of his blindness, his grasp of time was extremely accurate, and was not affected by the outside world. What do we do? Chia Shangguan ah. Sima Xiao scratched his chin. That woman is truly ferocious, but compared to Xiaoyu she is still lacking. The path is not right. Sima Xiao was shocked. In such a godforsaken place, if the direction was wrong, it would be no different from seeking death. He swallowed his saliva. Didn't you guys leave from here the last time? Which path did Sexton's eye bring you guys to? Sima Xiao had become the master of Scorpio constellation, and did not give up on the clan union, but instead swallowed the entire clan union. The unique spirit general fusion technique of the clan union was also inherited, and with Sima Zhao's support, it flourished and flourished. Go, let's go to the Shui family. The two of them anxiously carried Tang Tian and walked out. Tang Tian wanted to struggle, but he could not muster up any strength. Everyone looked at each other. Amidst the ear-splitting rumbling sounds, only Tang Tian's excited voice could be heard. The storm is here. Let's go. Everyone had just finished preparing when the surging gigantic waves crashed down, toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. In front of the might of the heavens and earth, A single person's strength was minuscule and insignificant, regardless of whether it was Sima Xiao or Magatama who were entangled together, or the Null Division who had formed a defensive formation. They were all like withered leaves that were gently blown away. "How many days have we been walking for?" Zhong Libai asked. His expression was extremely cautious, not daring to relax at all. The buzzing vibrations enveloped everyone, causing their expressions to change at the same time. Chapter 694. Tang Tian suddenly turned and stared at her angrily. "You?" He did not forget his companions even when he was unconscious. "He cannot be that bad." The old lady spoke with sincerity. "You must remember this. People who value benefits will use money to buy people, and people who value friendship will use friendship to bind them. He might not be willing, but as a responsible person he will naturally not act recklessly. If you want people to work for you, you cannot blindly use force. You must understand what he wants." There is no energy in the air. Tang Tian clenched his fists tightly. After a moment he raised his head and said resolutely, "What do I need to do?" Tang Tian immediately reacted. Not only was he unable to summon the null flames, even the light door that had never had any problems before was in trouble. The light door was dim, close to nothingness, but no matter how he chanted, the dim light door did not have any changes. "Your rashness will only cause their deaths." The old lady remained expressionless. "As long as you walk out of the Shui family, you will be a fugitive slave, and will be wanted by the entire Xin domain. If anything happens to the Shui family, the Xin domain will re-evaluate the safety of these slaves, and at that time, what awaits your companions will not just be manual labor." "Manual labor," the old lady said indifferently. "The Xin domain is lacking in manpower, so you do not have to worry. Their lives will definitely not be in danger. If they are not obedient, they will at most be manual labor. I spent 200,000 to buy you," the old lady said indifferently. "If you can take out 20,000 to redeem yourself, you can leave." He closed his eyes and took a few deep breaths. His anxious heart gradually calmed down, and when he opened his eyes again his gaze was clear and bright. The old lady remained expressionless. "You value friendship, I admire that. As long as you do your job well, I can help you find out where your companions are. The Xin domain is not big, but it is not small either, so it will be much easier for the Shui family to find out information. This old lady will promise you if you achieve great merits for the Shui family, I will give you freedom. If your merits are big enough, I can step out and help you redeem your companions. Although my Shui family is not a big family in the Xin domain, but everyone will give me face." The old lady saw his unsightly expression and immediately understood that he had more than 300 companions. She said, "If you have other companions, they must have been washed to other cities. Every year there would be a Xin tide in the Blue Sea, and every year many blue dwarves would be washed up. All the big families would go to the beach to pick up the blue dwarves." He needed to take the initiative to integrate and familiarize himself with the Xin domain. He needed to think of ways to recover his strength, and only by doing that could he find an opportunity. Tang Tian had encountered many dangers and troubles, but none of them could compare to this. The unprecedented predicament did not discourage Tang Tian. Instead, it aroused his fighting spirit. "Who are you? What is this place? Where are my companions?" Tang Tian did not let down his guard. Tang Tian touched the stone bed and dug out some wood from the edge of the table. He ground it into powder with his fingers and felt it slowly. This meant that he had completely lost contact with everyone. The old lady said indifferently, "In Xin domain, people are the most precious resource." Where was this? The old lady's words were not a reminder but more of a warning. But regardless of whether it was true or false, one thing was for sure, and that was not to act blindly without thinking. It concerned everyone's lives, and Tang Tian did not dare to act recklessly. Ming Zhu blurted out, "An army." The old lady laughed. "This old lady will arrange things for you to do. Rest well first. 200,000 gold. Servants. Where are the others?" Upon making the decision, Tang Tian did not hesitate. "Why do you want to pick up the blue dwarves?" Tang Tian asked. The green-robed young lady was filled with admiration. "Old lady is truly powerful. With just a few words, you managed to subdue him. You removed the needles from his body." Ming Zhu was frightened, and was afraid that he would wake up and hurt us. Tang Tian did not understand and asked, "Why?" The old lady did not even bat an eyelid. It is good that you are loyal, but do not overestimate yourself. You were bought by the Shui family and are now their servant. Do your servant's job well, and that is your duty. This is definitely not the sacred Saint Galaxy. That's right, an army. I think that he is not an ordinary soldier. If not, he would not have such a strong sense of responsibility. The old lady laughed. I initially saw that his muscles and bones were sturdy, and thought that the children he would give birth to would definitely be outstanding. My Shui family does not have any males, and all of you girls are of childbearing age and need to consider such matters. If not, why would I spend 200,000 gold to buy a servant? Damn it. Tang Tian calmed down. With his rich battle experience, he knew that if the other party had any enmity towards him, they would definitely not make a sound. He had to first find out where he was. Purple Cuckoo City, Xin Domain, these two names were foreign to Tang Tian, and he did not even know which continent he was in. When Tang Tian opened his eyes again, he realized that he was lying on the bed. Upon thinking about everyone's whereabouts, he became extremely anxious, but he had no choice but to suppress the anxiety in his heart, because he knew that it would not help. Rationality triumphed over emotion, which was rarely seen in Tang Tian. The two of them left Tang Tian's residence and returned to the inner courtyard. Tang Tian decided to leave. I am not sure at the moment, but there are rumors coming from other cities that there are a few thousand of them. Ming Zhu immediately reported. A few thousand. The old lady's face became gloomy and muttered to herself, these are troubled times, seems like the Xin domain is not peaceful. Old lady, are you saying that there is a problem with their origins? Ming Zhu's face changed. Ming Zhu's expression became gloomy. This is not the sacred Saint Galaxy. My body has recovered. What is my job now? An old lady dressed in brown sat on a chair not far away. She had a walking stick in one hand and a teacup in the other, calmly drinking tea. Beside the old lady was a green-dressed young lady with a ponytail. Her clear black eyes were curiously sizing up Tang Tian. Ming Zhu thought for a moment, then replied respectfully, Ming Zhu will remember this. Tang Tian's face was flushed red. His fists were clenched so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. He was extremely furious. I'm not too sure about the specifics. The old lady shook her head. Purple Cuckoo City picked up a total of 300 people this time, and was split cleanly by a few families. I never thought that there would be two fish that slipped through the net. One is you, the other is a young lady. The young lady was bought by little Delin, and you were bought by my Shui family. The bed was made of stone. The bedding was simple but very clean. Tang Tian was in a daze, as though he had returned to Star Wind City. After so many years of training in battles, the young man was still as innocent as before, but he had a bit of toughness after being tempered. In the past, the Sin Tide would always rush up with blue dwarves, but this time, it is humans. It shows that they are going deep into the blue sea. The old lady said, if they are exploring the blue sea, then there are too many of them. I am afraid that they are looking for something in the blue sea. From what he said, these few thousand people are his companions, and if they are a group, what would you think of? Xin domain? Tang Tian was dumbstruck, but after a moment his eyes regained clarity. He shook his head firmly. I am sorry, I do not have the money. I will definitely return the 200,000 to you, but now I need to save my companions. You don't have to worry about your companions. An old lady's voice caused Tang Tian to quiver. His face changed. He did not sense anyone around him at all. The old lady's voice came out from behind. You will not be able to leave. In Xin domain, escaping slaves is a capital offense. Slaves secretly forming alliances to escape is a capital offense. No matter how strong you are unable to go against the entire Xin domain. As long as your matter is exposed, you will not be able to save them in time and they will be executed. The old lady retracted her smile and sighed. From the looks of it, this child's character is stubborn and cannot be forced. But he has just arrived in Xin domain and his edges are still hard. After a period of time his edges will be ground away. At that time, no matter how ambitious he is, he will be completely exhausted, and only then can he truly assimilate into Xin domain. I was thinking too much less an army. Even if there are a few armies, what can they do in this land of death? They will slowly grind away. Ming Zhu never thought that the old lady would have such a plan, and immediately blushed red, unable to speak for a long time. What should I do? Tang Tian's face was pale white. He muttered to himself, only 300 people. This is the Purple Cuckoo City's Shui family. This old lady is the patriarch. The old lady had an amiable expression. She placed the teacup in her hand down, a look of praise flashing past her eyes. To think of your companions while unconscious, you are a good young man who values comradeship. You don't have to worry too much, although your companions will suffer, but their lives will not be in danger. In Sin Domain no one will waste manpower. He had lost contact with the rear, was penniless, was in an unfamiliar environment, his own strength was damaged, his surroundings were in darkness, he did not have any information and many of his companions were in danger. He forced himself to calm down. He did not want to think about the effects of encountering the storm because it was useless. Regret and vexation were useless at such a time. His only thought was to find everyone as soon as possible. Tang Tian was extremely confident in his heart because none of the materials had any energy. This was something unimaginable in the sacred Saint Galaxy in Heaven's Road. The air was filled with energy, causing everything to be filled with energy. The soil, rocks, water, all of them contained energy. It was just a matter of quantity. Tang Tian opened his eyes, his face extremely ugly. It was Tang Tian's first time seeing a place without energy. No matter how thin it was, like Lupus constellation, he could still clearly feel the energy in the air. There was no need to talk about the sacred Saint Galaxy. The energy in the air was extremely dense. He looked around curiously. The house was extremely simple, with only a bed, a table and 2 chairs. The bed was made of stone, the table and chairs were made from an unknown wood. The craftsmanship was extremely simple and crude. I want to find them. Tang Tian stood up without hesitation. When Tang Tian placed his attention on his surroundings, he immediately sensed that something was amiss. Chapter 695. In that moment he finally knew that he had found the path that belonged to a true strong martial artist. The manufacturing process of the golden steel threads was extremely complicated, thus it was extremely expensive. The warehouse where the golden steel threads were stored became a place frequented by thieves, and were frequently robbed. From the start, the Shui family had more yin than yang, and 20 years ago the situation became even more extreme. All the babies that were born were females, and from then on, the strange phenomenon became the law of the Shui family, and not a single male was born. The robberies did not stop, and the Shui family also tacitly agreed to it and did not mention it. The honorable martial continent's process of devouring the entire western region lasted for a few hundred years, and went through the entire process of their rise. The rise of the honorable martial continent was a history of blood and tears for the various continents in the western region. The various continents in the western region, big and small, were all secretly instigated by the honorable martial continent, fought and annexed. Very quickly, the higher-ups of the honorable martial continent faced a thorny problem, and that was the captives. The various continents' royal families and influential officials filled up the honorable martial continent's prisons. The honorable martial continent was extremely cautious of them. The declining royal families harbored hatred in their hearts. They were exiled, and if they were to rise from the ashes, it would be troublesome. But the honorable martial continent did not dare to kill them all. The royal families and aristocratic families were extremely large, and the bloody massacre would only cause the various continents in the western region to become even more united, and fight against the honorable martial continent. So the first task that Tang Tian received was to guard the warehouse. To others it was a difficult task, but to Tang Tian, it was exactly what he wanted. The space was named the Sin Domain, and became the place where the royal families and aristocrats were exiled. It was because of this unique business that the Shui family was able to stand tall. Isn't this the best place to train in the zero-energy body? It was a completely different feeling. All of the movements that he had practiced countless of times were extremely simple, but now even the last layer of brilliance had been stripped away. Many times, the things that you feel that you are not familiar with, when you are forced to do it, you will realize that you are not that bad at it. Tang Tian immersed himself in it. All of the movements that had already become instinctive started to change, like a withered tree branch, producing a tender and green sprout that was brimming with vitality. All of the frozen images around him seemed to have come alive. The minute fist and leg images started to move. One of the elders suddenly thought of the space where energy could not exist. It was simply the most perfect natural cage. The Sin Domain was truly not in the sacred Saint Galaxy. At this moment Tang Tian sensed something. That was because the people who were exiled were the upper echelons of the various continents. They had received excellent education, and those who only knew how to eat, drink and play had long since been eliminated. What was left were all determined and talented people. They continued to experiment and explore, using the martial techniques and knowledge that they were familiar with in the Sin domain. This was the metamorphosis he had always dreamed of. He had finally glimpsed the power of a higher realm. From this point of view, he came later than others. For example, Jing Hao had comprehended the sword will long ago. Tang Tian relied more on his valiant and peerless body, as well as his endless methods to defeat his opponents. His comprehension of power was far behind the others. After hundreds of years, the majority of the Sin domain people were born in the Sin domain. Babies born in the Sin domain did not have any energy in their bodies, and thus they were more adapted to the Sin domain. With a wave of his fist, Tang Tian had a strange feeling. He stopped moving, the frozen images around him did not dissipate, he closed his eyes and silently reminisced. The null flames had not recovered, the star door was still dim, but he felt as though he had been reborn. Tang Tian's heart became ruthless. The extreme simplicity was not simple, it was not giving up on variations, but on the contrary, the extreme simplicity contained the extreme variations. For some reason, all the girls in the Xue family without exception had weak physiques. The Xue family had no choice but to spend a large sum of money to hire guards. But money moved people's hearts, and there were frequent incidents of theft. There had been a few times where the guards bullied the weak masters, and secretly colluded with outsiders to steal the golden steel threads. He slowly opened his eyes, it was as though he was in a dark room. Pushing open the windows, the vast sea of stars in the sky shone down with a faint starlight. A tiny gust of air blew past, and the image that had been frozen in the air dissipated like dust in the wind. In the dead of night, in a corner of the warehouse, Tang Tian started to practice his fundamental martial techniques, which was his usual warm-up. Tang Tian's eyes became brighter and brighter, and in the pitch-black warehouse he looked like a star. It was as though he had been enlightened, his entire body was releasing joy from the bottom of his heart. Every movement he made was an incomparable enjoyment. Space-time power. All the changes that could be seen and not seen in his eyes were like colorful and different paints scattered on a plate, and his path of simplicity was the brush in his hand. Although old Granny Xue had made many promises, but it concerned everyone's lives, so how could Tang Tian place his hopes on others? The old granny's warnings were something that he had been thinking about for the past few days. Old Granny's words were probably not wrong, but if it truly came to that, he would just search for them one by one. Previously, he had realized that the sea of energy in his Gemini furnace was continuously shrinking, and only then did he understand the reason. All of these things were common knowledge and could not directly help Tang Tian resolve his current predicament, but it allowed him to have a more direct understanding of the Sin domain. All of this knowledge could help him assimilate into the Sin domain, and furthermore, familiarizing oneself with the battlefield was something that every soldier needed to do. Tang Tian's job was simple, he was guarding the warehouse. The Xue family was involved in weaving, and when the Xue family's ancestors were exiled into the Sin domain, their clothes had a few cloud silkworm seeds hidden in them. The energy inside the cloud silkworm seeds were quickly digested, and the silkworms that were born were completely different from the cloud silkworms. And after 3 generations of nurturing by the Xue family, the golden steel silkworms that evolved from the cloud silkworms had become completely different. But what Tang Tian did not expect was that the Honorable Martial Continent was the first to discover the Sin domain. It was said that the Honorable Martial Continent had been working hard to explore the Blue World for many years, and Tang Tian guessed that they definitely wanted to find the passage to Heaven's Road. They did not find the passage, but in one of their explorations, the Honorable Martial Continent unintentionally found a unique space. In this unique space, there was no existence of energy. And what made the Honorable Martial Continent even more fearful was that any energy substance that entered this place would dissipate at an astonishing rate. Even the powerful gold saints of the Honorable Martial Continent did not enter this place. If they stayed here for too long, it would cause their strength to permanently regress. After understanding the method, Tang Tian calmed himself down. Regardless of anything, he had to first recover his strength. That way, regardless of whether it was information gathering or saving everyone, he would have sufficient confidence. The Sin domain had few plants but many ores, and the golden steel silkworms had evolved to be able to devour ores. The golden steel silkworms that devoured ores were able to spit out extremely fine golden steel threads. The golden steel threads were not made of gold or stone, they were hollow inside and had a soft texture as light as a feather, and were extremely durable, making it difficult for blades and swords to cut them. In the next few days, Tang Tian had already obtained a lot of information. For example, he knew where the Xin domain was. The Purple Cuckoo City was built by the Purple Cuckoo family, and the Purple Cuckoo family was part of the Purple Cuckoo Continent's royal family. At that time, the Purple Cuckoo Prince and his subjects were exiled to the Purple Cuckoo City, and they worked together to build the Purple Cuckoo City, and continued to maintain the position of the royal family. Tang Tian's actions gradually changed, becoming more and more casual. I never thought that on my first night watch someone would come. The Xin domain gradually developed a set of things that belonged to them. Tang Tian laughed silently. There was one time when they were caught and the few guards still wanted to make a false accusation. If not for the close relationship between the Shui family and the Purple Cuckoo family, they would have long been destroyed. Ever since he knew that the Xin domain could repel energy, a brazen thought had lingered in his mind. Like a painter, every stroke was extremely concise, yet not sticking to one style. The strokes were hard to grasp, and the place where the brush would land was hard to predict. A path that truly belongs to me, a law that truly belongs to me. Suddenly he returned to Andrew Academy, back to the time when he trained in fundamental martial techniques on the mountain. A familiar, unfamiliar feeling enveloped him. In the past, his fundamental martial techniques had the help of true power, then the power of his blood meridians, then the devil flame, and finally the null flames. The dangerous place was completely sealed, and the honorable martial continent had little interest in it. The Xin domain's living environment was extremely harsh, and the people who were exiled here would lose all the energy in their bodies in a few months. They were unable to use any energy and could only rely on the strength of their bodies. Directly dropping from a saint back to such a weak state, most of the exiled people did not even last a few years before dying. But the people with strong will to live worked hard to survive. They created cities and worked hard to adapt to the Xin domain, taking root and living there. Tang Tian's movements became slower and slower. His extremely concise movements seemed to have been broken down into slow motion, and were imprinted in the space. There were no whistling sounds of the wind, and even the sound of the air flow had disappeared. Around him there were many fist and leg images, like a fixed image lasting for a long time. The Xin domain did not have a sun, but it was still divided into day and night. During the day the sky would appear light blue and was said to be the blue sea. The people of the Xin domain said that the Xin domain was like a big bubble in the blue sea. It was because the Xin domain repelled energy, that it was able to survive in the blue sea that was filled with energy. Whoever does not hand over the person will be trampled. But at the moment all the energy in his body had disappeared, and he only had the purest power of his body. Until today this layer of window paper has finally been pierced through. Many of the suspicions in Tang Tian's mind were suddenly cleared. Many of the images stacked on top of each other, but there was no sense of chaos. At night there would be dazzling light patterns in the sky like auroras. His strength was severely damaged, and if he did not recover, even if he received news from everyone, he could only stare. He knew that he was not an expert in scheming and only knew how to use force. Since I'm using force, I need strength, and without tyrannical strength, using force is seeking death. Chapter 696. He never thought that the Xin domain would be so dangerous, that a thief would actually be able to use spatial laws. Space, time, life and death, they were the eternal laws of the world and were the most powerful laws. They were the three most fundamental laws of the myriad of worlds, and were the foundation of any world. The three intertwined with each other, encompassing everything, and the branches were uncountable. There was even a saying that the myriad of laws were all derived from the three great laws, and the three great laws were the main branches of the law tree. Even if his state of mind was shaken, his body still instinctively reacted, twisting and turning like a fish. A layer of faint undulation spread out from his body. His body was like a shadow being illuminated by sunlight. The space around him suddenly became blurry, and his body quickly became fainter. The Xin domain had more than 1,000 families, and every family had their own inheritances, but now there were less than 10% of them, and almost all of them were destroyed in the Xin domain. But the families that survived were the survivors who had gone through the cruel elimination, and their inheritances were suitable for the Xin domain. Without hesitation he tiptoed, and like a specter he flew out. An unfamiliar man had appeared behind him unknowingly. Ping Xiaoshan's control over his body had reached an extremely astonishing level. Every muscle in his body, even if it was as light as a feather, could move according to his will. Ping Xiaoshan did not believe that anyone would be able to struggle out of the land of gentleness, and was probably enjoying the beauty. Old Granny Shue's eyes were extremely high. Countless people had gone to the Xue family to ask for her hand in marriage, but were all rejected by the stubborn old granny. I wonder what's so special about this unknown man, to actually be chosen by the old granny? After 3 generations, only Ping Xiaoshan was left. After succeeding, Ping Xiaoshan did not hesitate and turned to leave. Ping Xiaoshan, who was flying out, revealed a look of shock. He only had one thought in his mind: run. Tang Tian had not been in such a dangerous situation for a long time, and all the hairs on his body stood. His movements were extremely slow, like a statue moving slowly. His eyes were empty without any light, and his entire body did not have any signs of life. Without a heartbeat, without warmth, without breathing, he was like a lifeless rock, one with his surroundings. And every movement, the muscles in his body would tremble slightly, dissolving the disturbance in the air. But Tang Tian, who had just comprehended the laws, felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. The smugness in his heart immediately disappeared without a trace. He suddenly realized that his understanding of the Sin domain was still pitiful. A spatial black hole was definitely a high-level law of space. The sky was filled with light and shadows, and all that was left was a fist that seemed to be frozen in the air. If the air was a pool of water and Ping Shan waded through the water, strangely enough there were no ripples at all. But in front of this punch it became the best foil. There was no light aura, no whistling sound, no ripples, no changes. It was a simple and ordinary attack, but it firmly attracted Ping Xiaoshan's attention. The storeroom was pitch black and deathly silent. Humph, the beauty is yours, then the golden steel threads are mine. Ping Xiaoshan was secretly pleased. He had visited the Xue family's warehouse more than once, so he was very familiar with every corner. He was extremely cautious and never stole too much. He knew that for a person like him who had no backing, if he took out a large number of golden steel threads, it would definitely attract attention, and if someone investigated, he would not be able to escape. As long as there was the slightest movement, he would rather not take action than to take the risk. Ping Xiaoshan felt that the hand that was grabbing onto his neck was like an iron pincer. He did not move at all. His limbs were spread out horizontally. His entire body was stiff. All the muscles in his body were not listening to him. He was like a stiff frog. When Tang Tian unleashed his fist, Ping Xiaoshan's face changed. He knew that he had truly met an expert. Tang Tian felt a wave of fear. He did not have the time to think and immediately took action. If he had known that the opponent was using spatial laws, he would definitely not have taken the risk. The collapsing space would ultimately form a spatial black hole. Upon thinking about marrying into the family, the jealousy in Ping Xiaoshan's heart immediately lessened, and he once again placed his attention back on the warehouse. He had specially picked today because he was interested in the Xue family, who had no time to care about anything else. Spatial black holes were one of the strongest weapons in spatial laws. With Tang Tian's current strength, if he were to touch even a tiny bit of it, he would definitely die. Tang Tian took a deep breath and unleashed his fist. This punch seemed slow, but a faint aura enveloped the entire warehouse, and the surging air seemed to suddenly stagnate and solidify. But once they entered the Xue family, it would not be easy to get out. The old lady was worried that the secret of the golden steel silkworms would be leaked, so she only accepted men to marry into the family, and any man with a bit of ambition would naturally be unwilling. Tang Tian was surprised. The opponent's casual attack was actually so powerful. The Xue family had been flourishing with yin and yang for a long time, and hoped to turn the situation around. That was something everyone knew. He was envious. The Xue family's women were all beautiful and gentle. That guy is truly blessed. Ping Xiaoshan, who had just turned his body, suddenly constricted. His seemingly lifeless gray fingers were extremely agile. He quickly opened the package and took out a small bundle of golden steel threads, and then sealed the package, leaving no traces on the surface. The Xue family will probably not be able to sense any losses even after checking the warehouse. He quickly touched the corner where the golden steel threads were stacked, and through the package he could smell the unique smell of the golden steel scripture. The golden steel threads were odorless to ordinary people, but Ping Xiaoshan's sense of smell was extremely sensitive. The golden steel threads were not odorless, but the smell was extremely faint. And the faint smell, no matter how it was tanned, would not disappear. Just by relying on that, he was able to appraise the real and fake golden steel threads at times. But the 3 generations of hard work did not go to waste. The Ping family's stealth techniques had been improved and innovated. All the techniques that required the use of energy were abandoned, and what replaced it was how to use the strength of the physical body, and develop the potential of the physical body, which did not cause the Ping family's inheritance to disappear. Ping Xiaoshan stared blankly at the ground that was less than half a meter away from him. His mind was blank. That was why Tang Tian was shocked. Although the 3 great laws were good, but they were also the hardest laws to train in. They were not a single law but 3 large law systems. Countless of sages had chased after them to the extreme, but no one had ever dared to claim that they had completely grasped the profound mysteries of any one of the 3 great laws. His feet landed on the ground, but the dust on the ground did not move at all. For such a high-level law to actually appear on a thief, it was too inconceivable. The undulation emitted by the golden steel thread made him feel danger, and it made him tremble, but thinking about it, the undulation was the smell of spatial laws. Damn it, what kind of place is this? Ping Xiaoshan did not dare to be careless. He quietly moved forward. His movements were silent and did not make any sound. The Ping family used to be a big family. Their ancestors were scouts, and after achieving great merits, they were bestowed with land. The Ping family's stealth and concealment techniques were passed down from generation to generation. But a pity, the elites of the Ping family had all perished in the war with the honorable Martial Continent, and only 9 of them were exiled to the Xin domain. Ping Xiaoshan was extremely careful. The news of the old lady Shui spending 200,000 to buy a son-in-law had long spread. 200,000 was a huge sum of money no matter where it was, and old lady Shui's determination could be seen. The chaotic sparks, the surging air, and the unnoticeable undulation in Tang Tian's eyes, everything seemed to have stopped. His fist drew an extremely concise arc, as though he had gone through countless of calculations, as though the opponent was extremely familiar with the attack. The dancing sparks, the sharp whistling sound, even the golden steel thread that concealed its killing intent revealed itself. The faint undulation revealed itself like a ripple in water. Ping Xiaoshan only felt his neck tighten, and his body that was about to enter the space was forcefully pulled out. The golden steel thread released an extremely faint undulation, which was concealed within the dazzling sparks and the sharp whistling sound, as though it was a silent killer hiding in the darkness. Any expert that was proficient in stealth would definitely be an expert in anti-stealth. But he actually did not sense it at all. He immediately understood that he had met an expert. It was a copy of Fire Scythe Ghost Claw. In the darkness, Tang Tian's expression kept on changing. He did not know that Ping Xiaoshan, who was in his hands, was extremely shocked. In the darkness, he waited patiently and listened carefully. He could not believe his own eyes. The collapsing space was extremely dangerous. Ping Xiaoshan was extremely confident in his stealth techniques. He had once swept past a famed martial artist 3M behind him, but the other party did not know. Using it to steal things was truly a waste. An extreme sense of danger enveloped Tang Tian. The shattered ripple mirage started to collapse towards the center, transforming into a small vortex, finally converging into a black dot the size of a grain of rice. Tang Tian started to have a headache. Just at that moment, Tang Tian's eyes constricted in the chaotic sparks. A golden steel thread did not make a single sound. It did not produce any sparks at all. If the laws here are so rampant, then it will be difficult to handle. It was so light that it sounded like a bubble bursting, the sky full of sparks, the ear-piercing whistling sound and the terrifying undulation disappeared like sand and smoke. Ping Xiaoshan was an experienced Lone Ranger. In that moment his hands trembled and the golden steel threads in his hands shot towards Tang Tian like rain. The soft golden steel threads released "shio shio shio" screeches in the air. Following that, sparks exploded in the air. It was the sparks from the friction between the high-speed golden steel threads. Ping Xiaoshan was extremely familiar with the positions of the golden steel threads in the warehouse. Who exactly is this guy? Ping Xiaoshan's mind trembled. The opponent was behind him, but he actually did not sense it at all. Tang Tian was like a sandbag. He pulled the opponent out from the blurry mirage. Suddenly, Tang Tian's face changed. He grabbed Ping Xiaoshan and retreated. The mirage ripple that lost its support completely shattered. Chapter 697. Ping Xiaoshan seemed to have seen an invisible net quietly enveloping the Shui family, and immediately quivered. In his eyes, Tang Tian's innocent smile seemed even more sinister and terrifying. But for some reason Tang Tian's simple and unadorned punch involuntarily surfaced in his mind. It was as if it was imprinted in his mind. He stared at Tang Tian. He couldn't understand how such a crazy guy could throw such an amazing punch. This guy picked it up right away. He couldn't help but ask, wouldn't that be a little frustrating? Tang Tian followed Ping Xiaoshan's gaze and noticed that Ping Xiaoshan was tied up tightly. He immediately laughed. I forgot. It was no wonder that laws were a higher level of power. They didn't seem as powerful as spirit techniques, but they were even more unpredictable. The opponent used fists, and the families in Xin domain that specialized in fist techniques included the Lai family's tyrannical fist, the Qi Lei family's 8 musical fists, and the Mu family's Mu family fists. The law of the tyrant fist was incomparably tyrannical. There was no retreat, only life and no death. The Qi Lei clan's 8 musical fist was based on the laws of music, and its variations were unpredictable. The Mu family's Mu family fist was the most mysterious. There were many speculations in the outside world as to what laws the Mu family fist followed, but no one dared to confirm it. Ping Xiaoshan's mind worked quickly. He first eliminated the Purple Cuckoo City. Although the Purple Cuckoo family was not weak, but it was not the top family in Xin domain. Ping Xiaoshan had been in the Purple Cuckoo City for a period of time, and knew of all the experts in the Purple Cuckoo family. Ping Xiaoshan's face twitched. He felt that everything that had happened in the day was too chaotic. If he continued living like this, he would not be able to find his direction. Alright, it was actually because of this lunatic. Ping Xiaoshan was startled. Ping family's stealth technique. I can go now? Ping Xiaoshan asked subconsciously. Tang Tian did not know that Ping Xiaoshan had countless of thoughts in his mind. Both parties had only exchanged one round, but he had consumed an unprecedented amount of energy, and his physical strength was already at the bottom. After tying Ping Xiaoshan up in a flurry, he sat down and gasped for breath. Alright, if he was a disciple of the Mu clan, it wouldn't be strange. He had just peeked into the door of laws and his realm was still shallow. The confrontation between laws was even more unfamiliar. If not for the fact that he was in a state of enlightenment, his 6 senses were extremely sharp, and his strength far stronger than usual, he would not have been able to capture Ping Xiaoshan. Tang Tian proudly patted his chest and said loudly, you can also call me godlike young man, sure. Tang Tian said matter-of-factly, remember you can look for me if you need anything. Early in the morning a group of women rushed to the warehouse. The group of women obediently shut their mouths, but there were still a few who had expressions of defiance on their faces. Of course, from his point of view, the other party didn't need to tie him up at all. He didn't have the ability to escape. However, the other party's serious expression made him choose to remain silent. Tang Tian suddenly remembered that they were not in the Shang continent or the Ursa Major constellation. He immediately changed the topic and said, so you came to find me. Godlike young man. Let's go take a look, won't we know a thing or two? Mingzhu said. A few hours later. It was the most probable guess. The golden steel threads were extremely valuable, and if old Granny Shui used it as a bargaining chip, many families would be willing to help. Although the Xin domain was made up of frustrated families, but all of them had a glorious history and were well versed in politics and trickery. They cooperated, compromised, and fought in the dark, which were extremely frequent. Disguise. It must definitely be a disguise. Hearing that, the ladies all nodded their heads. Ping Xiaoshan looked at Tang Tian in a daze. He felt that the man in front of him was his brain stuck in a door. We are all enemies, we were just fighting to the death and I was even tied up like a dumpling. In front of such an enemy, playing tricks is just asking to be humiliated. Tang Tian looked at Ping Xiaoshan's sorry figure, and could not help but remind him, hey, you're walking in the wrong direction. Ping Xiaoshan. After Ping Xiaoshan left, Tang Tian started to train by himself. After the battle, he had gained a lot of enlightenment and was afraid that he would forget about it after a while, so he once again immersed himself in training. Ping Xiaoshan stared at the indistinct figure in front of him in shock. In just a few hours, Tang Tian was able to smoothly use the Ping family's stealth techniques. Although there were still many flaws, but it had only been a few hours, Ping Xiaoshan remembered how much suffering he had to go through to learn the stealth techniques. Ping Xiaoshan's expression was sluggish as he allowed Tang Tian to untie him. Tang Tian's passion caused him to be at a loss. This is too abnormal. Ping Xiaoshan was surprised. He carefully sized up Tang Tian and guessed at Tang Tian's background. Could he be a hidden martial artist of the Shui family? But he had never heard of him before. The Shui family's background had long been investigated by others. In Purple Cuckoo City, there was more than one family that had designs on the Shui family. Such a young martial artist could only come from a big family, and not only did he need outstanding talent, he also needed a large amount of resources. Guarding the warehouse at night is the most difficult. Furthermore, the warehouse is filled with golden steel threads. It is priceless for him to guard it. It is also a test of his character. Mingzhu looked around, seeing that the other ladies were deep in thought. She snorted, "How can old madam's eyes be compared to yours? After being on guard for a few nights, his character can be seen from that. Why aren't you leaving?" Tang Tian saw that Ping Xiaoshan was not moving and felt that it was strange. Tang Tian asked while wiping his sweat. During the battle, Tang Tian's laws enveloped the entire warehouse, and not a single sound leaked out. Tang Tian seemed to have understood something. Energy was real, laws were illusory, laws were like the invisible hand. This invisible hand was not only able to control energy, it could also control the air, sound, light and shadow, etc. Ping Xiaoshan also noticed that Tang Tian was gasping for breath. He was perspiring profusely and heaved a sigh of relief. Although the other party was powerful, but it was still within his acceptable range. If the other party wanted to kill him, he would not have lived until now. The warehouse was in a mess, the golden steel threads were all over the floor, and a figure was sleeping soundly inside, snoring like thunder. Ping Xiaoshan quivered. He regained his senses and immediately said, "Let's go. I am afraid that they are too crude. Our Shui family is also a family with status. How can they be so casual? This time, old madam." Ping Xiaoshan did not say a word, and allowed Tang Tian to use the golden steel threads to tie him up like a dumpling. The battle between the two was extremely short, and in just one round he was defeated. He knew the disparity in strength between the two, and the other party's strength far exceeded his. So young. Did the Shui family hear some movements and find strong reinforcements from somewhere? Tang Tian racked his brains and thought of something. What technique did you use to escape just now? Coincidentally, everyone arrived at the entrance of the warehouse. Mingzhu opened the door, and the scene inside appeared before everyone's eyes. "You came to steal the golden steel threads?" Tang Tian asked. "Who is it?" Ping Xiaoshan thought about it. "There is no need for the other party to lie to me. All right, I can't do anything about it. My life is still in the other party's hands." Upon thinking about it, Ping Xiaoshan nodded his head. "All right." Tang Tian scratched his head. He did not know how to continue asking. In the past, Bing was the one who did the interrogations. Bing's thoughts were meticulous and crafty, and to lie in front of him was simply asking for trouble. With that, he immediately ran away. That's right. Tang Tian already had his arm around Ping Xiaoshan's shoulder, and with a look of familiarity, "You teach me the stealth technique and we will be good brothers from now on. If there is any trouble, just say my name." "What's not good about it? Didn't the old lady check him? His body is very strong, Mengnan, maybe you will like him." Ping Xiaoshan's expression changed. The more he thought about it, the colder his heart became and he forgot himself. Ping Xiaoshan looked at Tang Tian in disbelief. There was nothing wrong with imparting the stealth technique to the other party, although the Ping family's stealth technique was unique. But if the other party was in existence like the Mu family, it was nothing. What he did not understand was that if the other party wanted the secret technique, they could just torture him, but to give him such a good condition, he did not believe it. The first battle in Xin Domain caused Tang Tian to have a lingering fear. In the Sacred Saint Galaxy, the warships clashed, causing an astonishing amount of energy to rain down. It was a spectacular sight. But in Xin Domain, it was a battle of laws. It was even more dangerous and unpredictable, and if one was not careful, they would die on the spot. Furthermore, he had only spent a few hours just now, and he had already mastered the Ping family's stealth technique. This kind of talent was truly astonishing. "Ping Xiaoshan." Ping Xiaoshan replied honestly. "Looking for you." "What's your name?" Tang Tian patted his chest. "I am a man of my word." Thinking about the simple yet soul-stirring fist, Ping Xiaoshan felt that it was most likely the Mu family's fist. Regardless of whether it was the tyrant fist or the 8 musical fist, the characteristics of the laws were extremely obvious and did not match the fist. Ping Xiaoshan could not tell what was wrong, but he felt extremely uncomfortable. What? Your surname is Tang? Ping Xiaoshan was startled again. Not surnamed Mu, he is not from the Mu family. Ping Xiaoshan looked at Tang Tian's expectant expression and was speechless. Ping Xiaoshan's mind was roused. Tang Tian's brainless actions after being explained, he immediately became suspicious. He definitely has a big plan. The Ping family's stealth technique is just a cover. The other party definitely did not have any plans to kill me. Why not kill me? There must be a conspiracy. Big sister Mingzhu, did old granny really say that? Oh my, what should I do? If the Xue family relied on the Mu family, then no one would dare to touch the Xue family's business. It's true, it's true. Tang Tian saw that Ping Xiaoshan was moved and immediately became overjoyed and immediately said, "Why would I lie to you?" Yes. Ping Xiaoshan admitted. The old granny of the Xue family truly had good methods. Unknowingly she had connected to the Mu family. Ping family's stealth technique? Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief and then curled his lips. That name is too ordinary. But to be able to use spatial laws, that's powerful. Can you teach me? Seeing that Ping Xiaoshan did not speak, Tang Tian immediately said, "As long as you teach me, I'll let you go. Of course you can't come and steal the golden steel threads anymore." Ping Xiaoshan was quiet for a moment. Really? Ping Xiaoshan suddenly asked, "What's your name? Is this guy's brain a little abnormal?" Mingzhu could not take it anymore and bellowed, "All of you shut up. Since when are you able to interfere with old granny's decisions?" Chapter 698. But upon thinking about marrying such a vulgar and lazy person, Mingzhu felt extremely sad. Even if this man did not have any status, Mingzhu still found it hard to accept. Xiao Yao saw that Mingzhu's expression was not right and said softly, "Big sister Mingzhu, today is the day to hand over silk." "Young Master Qin," Mingzhu said gently and stepped forward to bow. "Xiao Yao, check the warehouse," Mingzhu said coldly. Mingzhu forced a smile and said, "I never thought that the outside would actually spread the word about young master. It is truly surprising. He's just a manservant. Old madam feels sorry for him and feels that there are many things to do in the family. We're just a group of little girls and we still need someone to do the rough work." Xiao Yao's face changed. She did not have time to stop them, and Mingzhu had already brought young Master Qin to the warehouse. At the side, Xiao Yao sighed in her heart. It was no secret that young Master Qin admired Sister Mingzhu. Even the old madam kept quiet about this matter and pretended not to know anything. The Qin family was the Purple Cuckoo family, and was the true master of the city. The Xue family had been taken care of by the Purple Cuckoo family, and if Qin Zishan were to propose, the old lady would not be able to reject him, and only said that the decision was up to Mingzhu. She has been trained as a successor since she was a child, so she is used to thinking from the perspective of the Xue family. If she really agreed to young Master Qin's request, the Xue family would have no other choice but to merge with the Qin family. It was the first time they had seen such a vulgar person. Mingzhu's expression warmed up. The act of embezzlement that she hated the most did not appear, causing her image of Tang Tian to become much better. Although this person was vulgar, he was not someone who coveted small profits. Although he did not understand why so many golden steel threads were scattered all over the ground, the total number did not decrease, which meant that there was no theft. Tang Tian suddenly sat up, causing everyone in the warehouse to jump in fright. Mingzhu frowned and spoke in an unhappy tone. "Xiao Tang, what's wrong?" Xiao Yao did not refute but said, "I have the number of the previous warehouse. If you don't believe me, you can count it yourself." "Is Miss Mingzhu here?" A clear voice sounded. As soon as the taut string in his heart relaxed, Tang Tian, who had been holding on to his limit, was instantly drowned by tiredness. Mingzhu snorted, "Let's go." When he heard that old Madame Xue had bought a son-in-law, he had long wanted to come and take a look. Now that he saw Tang Tian's behavior, the stone in his heart was instantly lifted. He believed that no matter how bad Mingzhu's eyesight was, she would definitely not like such a vulgar person. After confirming that the other party did not pose any threat to him, his heart was at peace. Naturally, he did not feel any jealousy and he could not be bothered to bicker with a servant. That would be too beneath his status. In recent years, the Shui family had suffered too much in this aspect. Now they were in a precarious situation and in imminent danger. If there were no more experts in the next generation, the foundation of the Shui family would definitely be hard to protect. If not for the protection of the purple cuckoo family, the Shui family would have long been cleanly divided. There's nothing missing. After Xiao Yao finished counting, she was somewhat surprised and looked at Tang Tian, who was in deep sleep. "Mrs. asking you a question." A maid beside Ming Zhu could not stand it any longer and shouted. She had never seen such an unruly fellow before. She thought to herself, the old lady must have misjudged me this time. A complicated look flashed past Ming Zhu's eyes. She calmed herself down and regained her usual calmness, and walked to the front courtyard. A handsome man stood with his hands behind his back, leisurely appreciating the flowers and grasses in the courtyard. Tang Tian was sleeping soundly. He had just gained enlightenment on laws, and although the battle with Ping Shaoshan was short, he had exhausted all of his strength. After that he practiced the stealth technique for a few hours, but was afraid that he would forget about it the next day, so he struck the iron while it was hot and trained for the entire night. At that time he was just holding on, and only when all of the enlightenment was deeply imprinted in his mind did he stop. Ming Zhu's face changed. She then remembered that Tang Tian was lying in the warehouse. Oh my god, I must have been angered by Tang Tian to actually make such a low-level mistake. I could have called for people to bring the silk from the warehouse, but if Tang Tian and young Master Qin were to meet, Ming Zhu did not even dare to imagine the scene. The Sin domain's environment was terrible, and the body was the most important. If the body was not good, the infant would not be able to survive. And the Sin domain did not have any energy and could only rely on the power of the physique. Regardless of what kind of secret technique it was, it all started from tempering the body. The condition of the body was the foundation of everything. Ming Zhu's face turned green. The old granny was already old, and most of the matters in the family were handled by her, and being clear about rewards and punishments had long become her principle, especially when she saw people slacking off. Seeing the messy warehouse and the sound asleep Tang Tian, the anger in her heart could not be suppressed and she felt disgusted. Everyone in the warehouse looked at each other and became quiet. Ming Zhu's smile became even more forced. Young master is too courteous. You are treating me as an outsider. Tang Tian laid on the ground facing the sky. Sparkling and translucent saliva dripped from the corner of his mouth, and his thunderous snores came out one after another. Everyone looked at each other, but no one made a sound. Xiao Yao was an astute and meticulous person, and would definitely not make a mistake in the accounts. She combed the bangs on her forehead, concealing her loss of composure. For such a matter, young master can just order a servant to do it. Why do you need to come personally? Upon thinking about not marrying such a vulgar man, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The old granny had always hoped to find a strong and healthy son-in-law to marry into the Shui family, to have children and maintain the Shui family's business. Tang Tian was jolted awake. He realized that he was sitting up. I heard that your noble family has bought a son-in-law? Qin Zishan laughed. I wonder if Miss Ming Zhu can introduce me to him. Tang Tian, who was sleeping soundly and snoring loudly, once again appeared in front of everyone. Xiao Yao could not help but turn her head. She could not bear to watch. It was too embarrassing. Ming Zhu bit her lips. She had been a housekeeper for a long time, and knew how dangerous the Shui family was, and if they were not careful they would be consigned to eternal damnation. It was impossible for the Shui family to obtain any true allies, and the Shui family, who were all women and had no power to protect themselves, to any powerhouse, it was an irresistible temptation. All of them would be married off to the rich and powerful families, and the Shui family's golden steel silkworm taming technique would be forced to be handed over, and in the blink of an eye, the Shui family would be swallowed to the point that not even scraps remained. Is there really nothing missing? Someone could not help but ask. There are so many golden steel threads on the floor. He definitely took them apart. If not, why would he take them apart? An incomparable sorrow and anger enveloped his entire body, causing him to tremble and roar towards the sky. A delicate and intelligent young lady came out from the crowd and started to count the golden steel threads in the warehouse. After the initial shock, everyone quickly regained their composure, and looked at Tang Tian with eyes filled with disdain. But facing young Master Qin's pursuit, Ming Zhu had never responded. The other sisters were dumbstruck. The Shui family was once a big family, and the strict rules had been passed down. They had been influenced by what they saw and heard, and the rules had long been deeply imprinted in their hearts. When had they ever seen such a vulgar person? Even the hired guards had their own manners. Who? Tang Tian did not have the mood to speak. He immediately stood up, and without looking at anyone, without saying a word, he walked out of the warehouse with a black face. "You're not going to wake him up?" Xiao Yao asked. Tang Tian was dreaming. "If he wants to sleep, then let him sleep," Mingzhu said coldly. "Everyone is busy. I am too free furthermore to be able to see Miss Mingzhu. It is a good job." Qin Zishan's eyes were blazing hot. His clear voice not only did not make people feel that he was frivolous, but instead revealed a sense of sincerity, and was filled with the power to convince others. The Xin domain had banished either the royal family or the big families, and all of them had strict family rules. Even the big families that were established through military achievements, after a few generations of nurturing, naturally had etiquette. In the Xin domain, even the lowliest of people knew about etiquette. Although they had declined, but in the past they were still an illustrious family. He slept extremely soundly and did not even notice Mingzhu and the rest coming in. What do I do? What do I do? Tang Tian did not hear anything. He stared at the floor. Luckily it was just a dream. No matter what, I will definitely not let it happen. Young Master Qin nodded his head and praised. Miss Mingzhu is compassionate and kind-hearted. Zishan admires you. He turned and spoke to his subordinates. All of you be gentler with your movements. So it was like that. I listened to the rumors I shouldn't have. Qin Zishan bowed and apologized to Mingzhu. Everyone was secretly speechless. They were all familiar with Mingzhu's temper, and knew that Mingzhu was truly angry. If Mingzhu was not willing, even the old granny would not force her. Mingzhu had been groomed by the old lady as the successor since young, and if there were no accidents, the future of the Shui family would be handed over to Mingzhu. Qin Zishan waited for a while, but seeing that Mingzhu had not pushed the door open, he was surprised. Miss Mingzhu. Mingzhu avoided Qin Zishan's passionate gaze and said, "The silk is ready, young master, please." Young Master Qin was startled, but after a moment he laughed. "Your servant is truly sleeping soundly." Mingzhu had regained her composure and said, "He has been guarding the warehouse for the past few nights. It is extremely tiring. We should be quieter and not disturb him." The Shui family's golden steel silk was not only sold to the purple cuckoo family. The golden steel silk was not only used to weave clothes and soft armor, it was also made into extremely good bowstrings, and the purple cuckoo family bought the golden steel silk from the Shui family to make strong bows. Mingzhu regained her senses and, her face immediately became even uglier. Upon saying that, Xiao Yao immediately knew that she had said something wrong. His entire body was drenched in sweat. He stared at the stone tiles on the floor and gasped for breath. So it was a dream. The scene in the dream was too scary. Miss Mingzhu. Qin Zishan returned the greeting. His face had a warm smile, causing Mingzhu to be slightly dazed. The group of people had already walked to the door of the warehouse, and Mingzhu stopped in her tracks. He dreamt that the Honorable Martial Alliance had invaded Ursa Major constellation, and the Shang continent was also in flames of war. He dreamt that Chia was in a dangerous situation, dreamt that Bing was smoking and bringing everyone to fight back, dreamt that Tang Chou was prepared to sacrifice himself for the city, dreamt that Ling Su was unconscious, dreamt that Crane was covered in injuries, dreamt that Jing Hao's body was pierced with swords, dreamt that the lupus race was advancing wave after wave, like a tide pouncing on the enemy, dreamt that Ursa Major constellation was set ablaze, the blazing flames illuminating the sky. Mingzhu, who was fighting with herself, jumped in fright. She subconsciously pushed, causing the warehouse door to creak open. Chapter 699. Tang Tian smacked his lips. He waved his hand. "It's rather tight, all right, I'll make do with it." He clenched his fists tightly, his knuckles turning white. Inside the warehouse, everyone stared at each other. It was extremely quiet. The ghost face masks calmness, the blood bears movement. All of them revealed an indescribable killing intent. All of the passers-by were affected, and all of them subconsciously held their breaths. In the dead silent West Street, the footsteps that were not loud or clear seemed to be stepping on everyone's hearts. every step bringing along an indescribable killing intent. A few figures landed on the ground. They blocked Tang Tian's path, and one of them bellowed, "Friend, this is a private residence." Tang Tian walked to the backyard with a black face. Seeing a pond, he jumped in without saying a word. His entire body was immersed in the water, and under the stimulation of the cold water, the anger in his heart gradually faded, and Tang Tian's eyes slowly became calm and gloomy, like a deep abyss. "Quickly go take a look. You don't know how to strategize, you don't know how to fight. If you lose your courage, what else do you have? How do I get to Miss Delin's residence?" The bodyguards all looked as though they were facing a great enemy. A few of them subconsciously swallowed their saliva. Is this the sign of a fight? Behind the mask, Tang Tian suddenly laughed. The black flag left his shoulder and fiercely stabbed into the ground. The sturdy stone bricks were like tofu. Coincidentally, the wind blew, the black flag unfurled, and the ugly blood bear revealed an indescribable malevolence. That terrifying dream caused the young lad to suddenly wake up. He grabbed onto the fresh out of the oven Ursa Major flag, and with a few movements Tang Tian disappeared. "How's the Sin domain?" The passers-by stopped at the entrance of the West Street. On both sides of the street, figures leapt up like a school of fish. They stepped on the roofs and followed Tang Tian's figure from afar. A gloomy voice came out from above like the shadow. It was filled with a sense of oppression. Inside the pond, Tang Tian opened his eyes, the ripples reflected in his vision, and a blaze blazed in his heart. All of the restraints under the blaze turned into ashes. He felt that his entire body was brimming with energy. He had found the familiar passion, he had found the fearless heart. The two of them chatted happily and the atmosphere was harmonious. Was that why he was confused? Was that why he was hesitating? Was that why they were living in constant fear? "So tell yourself everything will be okay?" He walked forward and took off one of them. Tang Tian found a piece of black cloth to dry in the yard and a wooden barrel in the corner. The Shui family ran a weaving workshop, so these things could be seen everywhere. After searching for a long time, Tang Tian couldn't find a pen, so he found a broom, dipped it in red paint and started to draw. Mingzhu regained her senses. Her expression was calm as though nothing had happened. She laughed. "Young master, you are speaking from experience. No wonder I've often heard that the young master is a capable person who doesn't know how to talk. It's indeed true. Mingzhu's experience in this area is shallow. I hope that young master will not be stingy with your guidance." A crooked little red bear appeared on the black cloth. Tang Tian seemed to be talking to himself. "You are Tang Tian, this is your way of fighting and this is your way of winning." Tang Tian walked onto the West Street, which was about 60 m wide, with towering stone walls on both sides, and purple wisteria cascading down from the walls like a waterfall. The tender flowers were scattered in the purple sea like stars. There were no pedestrians on the street, and at the end was a majestic castle. He had a bloody mouth and sharp fangs with black hair and green eyes. He felt that it was worth it to come here today and was not angry at Tang Tian's offense, but felt that it was the right time to come. Back in his room, Tang Tian started to meditate, and after 15 minutes he was fully energized and calmed his mind. Everyone's figures flashed past his mind and Tang Tian smiled at the young man in the mirror, revealing his snow-white teeth, revealing a cold killing intent. He retracted his gaze and with a calm expression he walked out of the room. From the corner of his eyes he saw a few masks that children were playing with on the rattan rack. He could not help but think of the time when he and Ling Su had tried to kill the little princess on Humble Forest Planet. He had worn an orangutan mask. At the end of the West Street it's. Seeing the man wearing the ghost mask and carrying the black flag, who looked like a ferocious and evil man walking towards him, the young shop assistant's face turned white, and his legs trembled uncontrollably. He leaned on the pillar and watched as the man walked closer step by step, his entire body unable to move. The seemingly solid shadow pressed down like a black cloud, causing the entire world to sink into darkness, causing people to feel suffocated. Qin Zishan was secretly pleased but maintained a humble expression. "I've let Miss Mingzhu see a joke." After a while Mingzhu rushed into Tang Tian's room aggressively, but when she saw the empty room her face changed. The ghost mask, the blood bear black flag. The black flag unfurled, revealing the red bear in front of everyone. The artist's drawing skills were extremely poor. The red bear looked stupid and ugly, but the bright red paint was like fresh blood smeared on the black cloth, revealing an indescribable bewitching and killing intent. That's right. The leader of the guards became cautious and asked, "Who are you? Please give me your name so that I can report it. What is there to be afraid of? Are you worried that you will harm everyone? Are you afraid of not making any rash moves? Is it the fear of the unknown?" Tang Tian's gaze did not stop on the guards. He looked at the castle behind them. The majestic castle was like an unfathomable gigantic beast that wanted to devour people. So shameful. That's good. When Tang Tian walked onto the West Street, the guards on duty noticed him. He was so overbearing, and it was obvious that he did not have good intentions, causing the guards to be startled and their faces to change. The alarm resonated throughout the entire castle, causing the entire castle to be in chaos. The guards and family soldiers all rushed out like a tide, entering their respective positions. The entire castle acted as though it was facing a great enemy. Ursa Major Null Division Han Bingning returned to the team. He opened up his arms, his fingers moving about, cracking sounds could be heard. The young man in the mirror had a cold expression, his killing intent soaring. With the black flag on his shoulder, Tang Tian walked alone on the wide street. His footsteps could be heard from afar. His expression was calm as though he was a tourist. The green ghost mask followed his footsteps. The purple orchids by his side gently swayed in the wind. The black flag fluttered, and the blood-red bear in the sea of purple appeared and disappeared. For some reason, the few of them felt their bodies tensing up. An indescribable cold intent surged from the bottom of their hearts. He wanted to find someone to ask for directions, but there was no one within a few meters of him. Wherever his gaze swept past, the passers-by would avoid him as though he was a snake or scorpion. Tang Tian wanted to scratch his head, but at that moment he coincidentally saw a shop assistant by the roadside. His eyes lit up and he walked over. "We will follow from afar, there won't be any danger like that. Godlike young lad, go go go." Tang Tian's performance made the few bodyguards in front of him even more anxious. He was too calm and unperturbed, but all of the bodyguards were battle-hardened, and their unusual calmness revealed a biting cold killing intent. That is the fear in the depths of your heart, the cowardice hidden in your heart, the laughable excuse you give yourself. There are a few hundred people in Purple Cuckoo City. If I can find them first, then everyone can communicate with each other and the situation will be much better. Tang Tian thought about it. Old Granny Shui had said that Han Bingning was bought by a person called Miss Delin. What an ugly drawing. Expert. A low voice resonated out in the quiet street. Are you looking to die? What if the honorable Martial Continent is right in front of us, and this young lad dares to barge in alone? Wearing the mask on my face is suitable. Tang Tian stopped. He suddenly realized a problem. How do I get to Miss Delin's residence? He was ultimately Tang Tian, a powerful leader. Although he was a young lad, he was still a godlike young lad who had killed countless of heroes. And when he got past the initial confusion and let go of the worries in his heart, his mind became clear. His fearlessness and dauntlessness was like a blazing fire in the night, burning the sky red. Thank you. Miss Delin? Does he have a grudge with Miss Delin? Tang Tian carried the flag and walked on the streets of Purple Cuckoo City, causing the people on the streets to avoid him. The masked man carrying the flag exuded a strong murderous aura, causing them to tremble in fear. Speaking of which, the little princess is also called Mingzhu. Thinking about his own student, it has been a long time since I last saw her. I wonder how little Mingzhu has been doing for the past few years. Tang Tian's gaze became much gentler. The shop assistant, whose mind was blank, instinctively spoke out the address. Tang Tian covered his face. He could not bear to look at it. I obviously wanted to draw a mighty and majestic big bear. Why did I end up drawing such an ugly and stupid little bear? He muttered to himself. After thinking about it, he felt that it would not be any better to redraw it, so he quickly gave up on the impulse. He looked around and grabbed the bamboo pole that was originally used to dry the black cloth, found a rope and tied the red little bear onto the pole. This skill is truly embarrassing. Godlike young lad, I will not retreat. Why would I care about myself? Just like that, Tang Tian left as though no one was around, and headed towards Miss Delin's residence. The young lad asked himself. The shadow above him dissipated, and the pressure that caused people to tremble also disappeared. The young shop assistant could no longer hold it in, and sat on the ground like a pile of mud. His face was pale white. What a dense killing intent. You're stupid. You're bold but not astute. You're unreasonable. You're reckless. So what about it? Carrying a heavy burden, it should not be the reason for you to retreat. The unknown dangers in front of you should not be the reason for you to stop. What does the complicated situation have to do with you? The shop assistant's mind was blank. Everyone is waiting for you to save them. They support you, protect you, believe in you and accompany you through life and death. You are responsible. Is it Miss Delin's residence? The young lad raised his head, his face towards the sky. He raised his voice and bellowed. Hey, he sneered, his eyes blazing with fire. Zhou Xian was the first to regain his senses. Sensing the awkward atmosphere, he took the initiative to resolve the situation and laughed. Your servant has quite a character. I heard that he is also a person that appears during the rising tide. My family has a few as well. They are truly arrogant and untamed, but I think it is because of their environment. After staying here for a period of time and sharpening their temper, they will be able to use them more easily. Tang Tian came out from the water. He wiped the water off his face and jumped up. A few of the Shui family ladies that passed by exclaimed, but Tang Tian ignored them and returned to his own room. Chapter 700. Hand over my man. Seems like he's being detained. The ghost face mask young lad did not even look at the bodyguard at his feet. He raised his feet and walked towards the castle step by step. The idea that the Ping family had not realized for a few generations had appeared in someone else's hands in front of him, and he had only learned it last night. You better let me go. Han Bingning suddenly spoke out. On her back, a row of light needles snaked down her spine. Previously there was an invisible barrier between the two of them. But this barrier was finally broken after Tang Tian gained enlightenment on the laws. The feeling of being able to harmonize with the environment, the feeling of being like a fish in water, was something that Tang Tian had never experienced before. That chasing back, that young lad is like you. On the ghost face mask, the light aura in his eyes became even brighter, and behind the mask, a sneer as sharp as a blade appeared. Bang! If not for the fact that Ping Xiaoshan was extremely familiar with the spatial undulation, he would not dare believe his own eyes. The other party had actually integrated the Ping family's stealth technique spatial laws into other techniques. Previously he had suspected that the other party was the one who had fought with him last night, because their physiques were too similar. Until Tang Tian made his move, he immediately confirmed it, but it did not make him happy at all, but instead made him feel an unprecedented fear. He was completely shocked by the throw, his mind was completely blank. He has never lost before. Han Bingning raised her beautiful chin, her indifferent tone had a trace of pride. Because he was the back that she wanted to follow. Countless people were willing to fight for him, countless people were willing to shed their blood for him. As long as his flag was raised, countless people would rush forward and disregard their lives. As long as his horn was blown, heroes would gather. Not good. Delin was not stupid, on the contrary she was extremely astute. She could feel the pride in Han Bingning, the pride that came from the depths of her heart for the figure below. The first time she met Tang Tian was in the jaded swamp sea of bamboos. Tang Tian's eyes were wide open, his body was extremely low, his hands pressing the ink-black iron rhino's head to the ground, his entire body tensed up. The scene of him going berserk seemed like it was yesterday. A gust of dark wind came. Tang Tian muttered to himself. His voice was not loud, but his words mixed with the fluttering of the flag, carried by the wind to every corner. Under the calm, it was as if a storm was quietly gathering. An indescribable pressure enveloped the entire area. His vision blurred, and then he saw a flash of saber light and the countless bubbles it produced. That ghostly face glanced at them from afar. Delin did not know if it was an illusion. The 5 guards attacked at the same time. Their momentum was incomparably terrifying. No one present saw Tang Tian's movements clearly. In that instant the air around Tang Tian seemed to have become blurry. On the castle, Ping Xiaoshan, who was watching, quivered, his face changed, his heart was at his throat. The guards of Miss Delin's residence were all elites, and they were all very strong. Every year Miss Delin's residence would replenish new blood and recruit new bodyguards. Ping Xiaoshan had tried but was rejected. The 5 people in front of him were the elites of the guards, and the leader, Boss Hua, had a bit of fame. That throw used spatial laws, and it was the Ping family's stealth technique spatial laws. Lin's expression congealed. The more casual the opponent was, the more confident he was. It was a pleasure. The leader of the guard's face changed, but it was too late to stop him. A fierce look flashed past his eyes. He might as well go all out. No matter how powerful the opponent was, he was only one person. Above the castle's gates there were spiderweb-like cracks, and in the middle was a black flag. The flag drooped downwards and the blood-red bear looked extremely comical. But no one could laugh. Tang Tian's move had shocked the entire place. How is that possible? Did you make a mistake? The leader of the guards was experienced and knew that he could not admit to it. What was even more strange was that there was no sound of wind, no whistling, there were no ripples in the air. The bear flag seemed to have extended over a few thousand meters, and stuck deeply above the castle gates. But the most sinister one was Wuxia. His sword had disappeared from the continuous attacks. Just as the young man with the ghost mask was about to be engulfed by the attacks that covered the sky and the earth, the pair of eyes that had always been calm under the sinister and ugly ghost mask suddenly lit up with brilliance. Ping Xiaoshan, who was in the crowd, stared blankly at the bear flag, his face without any blood. The indescribable brilliance was as calm as water, and as clear as a demon. No one could see his movements clearly. The figure flashed and disappeared. He stood in his original position as though he had never moved. The high-spirited young man was their king. Around Tang Tian there was no one standing. With a thought, Tang Tian's body moved and his figure suddenly became blurry. In front of him, the black flag was stuck in the city gates. The blood bear danced in the wind. It was sinister and silent. Wuxia felt as though he had been struck by a wild beast. His throat tasted sweet and he flew out. The 5 fingers on his right hand clenched into a fist. He punched the air in front of him and a ripple spread out from Tang Tian's fist. The blood rain that flew towards Tang Tian seemed to have met with an invisible umbrella and exploded. I just learned the Ping family's stealth techniques last night. A brazen idea suddenly popped out in his mind. There was no place more suitable than the Sin domain for a zero-energy body. She was tall and slender with fair skin, her blue eyes were as mesmerizing as the ocean, her golden hair was tied up in a high bun, and she looked down from above, filled with an air of judgment. She was only 24 years old, but her mind was far more mature than people of the same age, and she was the one who made the decision to buy Han Bingning. Her leg was like a blade. With the force of a heavy axe, she slashed down on the right side of the void. A few of the guards subconsciously retreated 2 steps. The leader of the guards was the first to react, although he was shocked, but he did not forget his duty. He suppressed the fear in his heart and took a step forward and spoke with difficulty. "Sire." Han Bingning did not say anything to Lin as she disdained to explain. Tang Tian did not know that he had done it on purpose, as the castle was too far away, and it was difficult to throw it with ordinary methods. The first to charge forward were the 5 bodyguards who were blocking Tang Tian's way. "Hand over my man." The spiderweb behind him shattered, and the guards spat out blood and fell to the ground. Behind the mask, Tang Tian laughed sinisterly. Without saying anything else, he extended his arm and grabbed the bear flag. His 5 fingers grabbed onto the pole. The pole was once again pulled out from the ground. 5 figures interweaved like lightning and pounced towards Tang Tian at the same time. The red flame spear had already touched Tang Tian's waist, causing the guard to reveal a look of ecstasy. The red flame was the red lotus flame that he had comprehended from the fire laws. It looked unremarkable but was extremely powerful, and upon contact with it he would definitely be incinerated. In the silence, slow footsteps came out. The young man wearing the ghost face mask calmly walked towards the castle gates. The 2 clashed, the red flame and the air bubble collided and immediately exploded. The distance between the 2 parties became closer and closer. One of the guards' face turned pale. His mental defense finally crumbled and he pounced towards Tang Tian. Lin was moved. "Just one person, but he has such a strong conquering aura. I have never heard of such a person in the Ursa Major Null Division. Seeing him I can tell that he is not ordinary. Is he your commander-in-chief?" A calm and emotionless voice came out from behind the mask. The young man's upper body did not move, his footsteps were not fast, but with every step he took, everyone's heart tensed up. "Oh." Lin glanced at Han Bingning and was surprised. "Seems like you have a lot of confidence in him." After interacting with him for a few days, she had long grasped Han Bingning's personality. A loud sound came out like a drum being struck. It struck everyone's heart. That guy wearing the ghost face mask. The Ping family's stealth techniques had been improved over the generations, but no one had ever succeeded in using the spatial laws that they grasped to attack. The spatial laws that the Ping family grasped could only be used for stealth and concealment, and that was the reason why the Ping family had gone through 3 generations and gradually declined. Without fighting ability, it was extremely difficult to survive in the Xin domain. The spacious West Street was dead silent. Han Bingning did not speak, but she did not mind and continued. He knows you are here? That's right, I think your Ursa Major Null Division only has you, and that is a girl. He just needs to ask around and naturally know. He looked at the castle in the distance behind the mask. He licked his lips. It's too far away. Die. The calm and stern warning, the slow and steady footsteps, the terrifying ghost face mask continued to close in on them. The black flag hanging on the castle behind them, the blood-colored little bear, seemed to be watching them from afar, causing them to feel as though there was a blade on their backs. Tang Tian's hand that was grabbing onto the spear suddenly loosened, and with a casual push, the spear-wielding guard and the blade guard were no longer restrained, and flew towards the spiderweb behind them like sandbags. The darkness that enveloped him, the blade and spear auras, the insidious spiderweb that was hard to detect, was extremely clear in his eyes. Regardless of whether it was Heaven's Road or the Sacred Saint Galaxy, the omnipresent energy filled the heaven and earth. Tang Tian's zero-energy body's surroundings were filled with the omnipresent interference and repulsion. He was like a drop of oil in water, unable to merge with the environment. And in the Xin domain, there was no existence of energy, there was no omnipresent interference and repulsion, so Tang Tian's zero-energy body was extremely compatible with the environment. Han Bingning did not make a sound, his eyes blurred, all of the memories that had been sealed for many years surged out like a tide. Boom. The harsh environment of the Xin domain caused the residents who had lived here for generations to feel despair. But Tang Tian felt an indescribable comfort. He was like a fish swimming in the water, free and unrestrained. The guard's actions were like a fuse, immediately causing the originally dangerous situation to completely go out of control. The other companions by his side were extremely tensed, and all of them subconsciously pounced towards Tang Tian. Tang Tian's palm that was holding onto the spear had a blurry ripple on it. The red flames that could melt anything was helpless against the blurry ripple. A terrifying force came from the spear body, causing the guard to turn pale with fright. He was unable to react in time, and was lifted up along with his spear. The impact that Ping Xiaoshan received was immense. Pa. It was still the same words, mixed with the slow but firm footsteps. The killing intent was like the autumn wind. The formless cold intent was like the autumn frost, permeating into every corner of the battlefield. A palm suddenly appeared out of nowhere and grabbed onto his red flame spear. He opened his eyes wide in anger, the power in his entire body surging. A black raindrop shot towards Tang Tian. The black raindrop had a fishy stench. It was called black rain and was extremely poisonous. One blade and one spear sealed Tang Tian's 2 sides. The blade light was like a fish swimming in the water, bringing forth dense bubbles. The spear moved like a dragon, the red flames flowed as though a red dragon was roaring with its head raised. A black illusion appeared behind Tang Tian. The threads that were hard to see with the naked eye quickly formed a large net. The guard who used the spear could not believe his eyes. His gaze suddenly became cold, the fighting intent that he had been suppressing the entire time, and the evil fire in his heart, was like boiling lava, burning through the last layer of rock and spewing out. Tang Tian moved, the light aura formed 2 bewitching light scars, but his body became extremely strange and suddenly became blurry. Chapter 701. The Xin domain was the true land of exile. Genius, he is a true genius. The Mu-Er steel guards were famed. After entering the Xin domain, the Mu-Er family did not have a smooth time. They were able to establish their roots because of the generations of steel guards that fought and killed their way out. The group of loyal and devoted steel guards continued to wither and wither, and in this generation only Benson was left. The black-faced man's expression was calm, but his heart was in turmoil. The unprecedented focus caused Tang Tian's intuition to be extremely sharp. It was this sharpness that caused him to be immersed in the mystical world. Since he had made his move, Tang Tian had never thought of mercy. You want me to hand him over? It's not that easy. His hands and feet were ice cold, his face was pale white. Suddenly faintly discernible, suddenly tyrannical, suddenly like a gust of wind, suddenly misty, suddenly cold, suddenly sharp. If he is not dead, I truly cannot be enemies with him. Different from the excited faces around him, Zhou Xian's face was completely white. Black Benson, the Black Benson who had not made a move for 20 years actually made a move. But Tang Tian's following transformation caused the fanatical Zhou Xian to be completely dumbstruck. His unhurried footsteps were like his heartbeat, steady and powerful, and also like the heavy drums of a great battle, unhurried and powerful. Inside his body there seemed to be something becoming restless. Tang Tian, who was immersed in the world of laws, was completely unaware of what was happening outside, and also completely unaware of the changes happening to his body. If I don't comprehend, then I will comprehend through battle. She could not help but look at Han Bingning again. Han Bingning's expression was still calm, but his gaze had never left ghost face mask. When Dalin's gaze met Han Bingning's eyes, her mind trembled. In the past few days of interaction, Han Bingning was like an ice mountain to her, especially his eyes, which were like ice crystals, causing people to be unable to get close to him. But at that moment, his eyes that were like ice crystals could not conceal his pride and fanaticism, like a mirror reflecting the light and heat of the sun. In another corner of Purple Cuckoo City, inside a dark room, a man dressed in luxurious clothes gasped, his face changed and his figure disappeared. It's over, it's all over. His Ping Clan's stealth technique. A person who was so ruthless to himself, a person who didn't leave himself any leeway, a person with such strong beliefs, a person who pursued victory so crazily and stubbornly. He had never seen such a person before. That was when Darlene was born. He had watched her grow up and he had been guarding her ever since. What replaced it was a desperation to advance with no retreat and fight with their backs against the wall. Defeat or death. If you don't understand, you'll die. Her clan possessed a noble bloodline. Even though they had declined, the pride in their blood had never left them. If you don't hand him over, then I'll beat you until you do. Just like that, his blood began to boil bit by bit. Looking down from the sky, one after another figures soared from all directions of the Purple Cuckoo City, and with astonishing speed, they flew towards the Muir Castle. At this aura, Black Benson. If it was said that Tang Tian's previous toss had left him dumbfounded, then Tang Tian's grab made him feel that it was extremely ingenious. Inexplicably, that thought suddenly popped up in his mind. The various families of the Purple Cuckoo City had many experts, but Black Benson was the unassuming one that no one dared to overlook. Every step he took, he had comprehended something. Inside the explosion, Tang Tian's figure suddenly disappeared. She was the one who personally recruited Boss Hua and the other four, and knew of their strengths extremely well. It was because she thought that the five of them had great teamwork and outstanding strength that she entrusted them with heavy responsibilities. But the five of them actually could not even block one move from the other party. Such a powerful martial artist was definitely not a nameless person. Why have I never heard of the Ursa Major Null Division before? Could he be from the Sacred Saint Galaxy? Dalin's face kept on changing. She shook her head secretly. A gold saint from the Sacred Saint Galaxy. If he were to come to the Sin domain, his strength would be completely exhausted. Truly a lunatic. When Tang Tian grabbed onto the red flame spear, he had clearly seen it. Tang Tian's hand had grabbed onto the red flame spear, but it was a blur. For the Muir family's #1 expert to fight, it immediately made everyone excited. The illustrious Black Benson had become famous 24 years ago, and after 24 years of accumulation, no one dared to be certain of his current strength. In the past 24 years, no one had seen Benson make a move, and he was forever the steel figure that stood behind Dalin. Miss Dalin's family was the Muir family, and their ancestors were the royal family of the Foul Continent. They were exiled to the Sin domain, and the original steel guards of the royal family rejected the honorable Martial Continent's invitation to surrender, and entered the Sin domain to protect the Muir family who were no longer part of the royal family. There was no fear, no retreat, no distracting thoughts in the entire world. In Tang Tian's eyes, there was only the silent blood-bare black flag on top of the castle's door. It was as though the blazing fighting intent was mixed in his blood, flowing endlessly in his body. Tang Tian was immersed in an indescribable and miraculous state. His body was boiling hot, his fighting intent was so intense that he was trembling, but his state of mind seemed to have been pulled out as he experienced the true sea of laws. He was like a fish swimming in the ocean, an indescribable comfort, an indescribable enjoyment. But no matter what, he would not allow Miss Delin's dignity to be trampled on. But he knew that it was a battlefield and it was not easy to gain anything. When the black-faced burly man appeared on the West Street, it caused a commotion. Who had ever seen such a scene before? The huge West Street was so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Space was not only used to escape, it could also be used to attack and defend. The red flame spear could melt anything, but it was unable to melt space. The blurred area between Tang Tian's palm and the spear body was a thin layer of space. He took a deep breath and suppressed all the thoughts in his mind, and his gaze regained its calmness. The ghost face mask's craziness and powerful willpower made him deeply respect him. Every step he took, he had gained something. That was his willpower. After that, the Mu'er family did not have to fight anymore. They got rid of their decline and became more prosperous. Tang Tian did not notice anything. He was immersed in the sea of laws. All the original and unmodified laws were presented to him in their most primitive form. Huh. The Mu'er family? That guy is finally going to make his move? He leapt up and landed in front of Tang Tian. Walking alone on the spacious West Street, he did not hear the moans behind him. The wind gradually blew like a horn. The violets swayed like a waterfall, like a flag fluttering in the wind. Every step he took made everyone feel as though the ghost face mask who was slowly walking forward was a different person. The black-faced burly man who had just come down from the castle stopped in his tracks. A look of disbelief flashed past his eyes. He is actually enlightening himself here. After learning the Ping family's stealth techniques for a night, he was actually able to unleash it to such an inconceivable level. Aside from being shocked, Ping Xiaoshan was also extremely excited. It was just a throw and grab, but it allowed Ping Xiaoshan to see the astonishing potential of the Ping family's stealth techniques. Is he going to fight to the death? Tang Tian sensed that there was someone in front of him, and immediately became alert and broke away from the miraculous state. He was not satisfied to be able to enter such a miraculous state of enlightenment. It was something that could only be discovered and not sought. If he had more time, he would have gained even more. It was not easy to survive in the Sin domain, especially for the people at the bottom. They had to struggle with all their might to obtain the qualifications to survive. He had initially thought that he had seen through everything and had long seen through the world and was indifferent to it, but the scene in front of him had completely toppled all of his previous knowledge. He took a deep breath, the look of shock in his eyes disappeared, and what replaced it was ruthlessness and decisiveness. He had seen many talented people, and at the same time he knew that there were many hardworking people, but it was the first time he had seen someone who had the guts to walk leisurely on the battlefield and peacefully gain enlightenment. Tang Tian's eyes dilated. He suddenly stepped forward with his left leg, causing the surrounding air to explode. Quickly run. He is truly dead set on me. Delin bit her lips, but her heart was filled with unwillingness. Ben Sen's experiences could be said to be legendary. He had received the strictest grooming since young, and at the age of 14 he traveled far and wide, fighting in the various cities of the Sin domain, creating the name of Black Ben Sen. At the age of 22 he returned to the Mu'er family with a body of scars, and took up the position of a steel guard. Senior Gui Wu will never think that there would actually be a place like the Sin domain in the world. His gaze landed on Ben's senator previously. His body was boiling with fighting intent that was suppressed by the state of enlightenment, but at that moment, it had lost all of its restraints and erupted like a volcano. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly turned red. The surging fighting intent instantly swallowed the calmness that he had gained enlightenment in his heart. How can a person's temperament change so much? His temperament was constantly changing. At that time the Mu'er family was in a precarious situation, and when they announced that Ben Sen had returned to the family and become a steel guard, the Mu'er family situation immediately stabilized. In the straw hut, the long-haired man stood up. He opened his palm. Pennsylvania. The sword on the ground flew into his hand and he soared into the sky. Step by step he changed. For some reason, Ghost Face Mask, who was walking slowly on the West Street, the fluctuating aura suddenly disappeared in the black-faced man's eyes. Ping Xiaoshan's mouth did not close. This is my battlefield. Before Benson could finish, the aura of the young man in front of him changed. It was easier to gain enlightenment on laws in Heaven's Road than in the sacred Saint Galaxy, because the energy in Heaven's Road was much thinner, and laws appeared much more easily. In the Sin domain there was no energy at all and laws appeared in front of Tang Tian. Most of the people in the Sin domain gained enlightenment on laws, because it was much easier to gain enlightenment on laws here as compared to other places. Who is he? That's right, in the eyes of others the Sin domain was a land of exile, but in his eyes, it was a true land of treasures. What's going on? It was a sea of laws, but it was different from the sea of laws in the forceful subjugating bead. The sea of laws was real, it was even more chaotic and disorderly, but at the same time it was even more balanced and stable. Above the castle, De Lin, who had maintained her composure the entire time, had a change in expression for the first time. De Lin tilted her head and signaled to the black-faced man who was standing at the side. The man nodded and quietly left. How audacious! But no one dared to do anything to the Mu'er family. Benson was the steel guard and protected De Lin. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.